where you're not really dying. You're kind of going to the next level. You pass to the next level, duh. But I mean, it's
also known as dying, though.
Yeah, the body died.
Sure.
For sure.
Pass away just sounds kinder.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. It doesn't bother me.
See, I still prefer to just say died, though. I mean, it sucks, but we all saw it coming, so I'm not really sad about it. I mean, we knew a long time ago that this was going to be the end.
He was in his 50s. He was suffering from cancer.
It was surprising how quick it was, because the last I had heard from him, he was going into hospice, and they expected 6 months. And then like a week later.
It just shows what they know.
Yeah, just a week later. But anyway, in other news, evidently there's a new Project Veritas article and video. I actually have the video here, but yeah, we had video issues at the start of the show.
I just want to say, rest in peace, Michael. The guy was an incredible talent.
He was.
And one of the most important people behind the scenes on Free Talk Live. I mean, you know, I would rank him as probably even more important than Mark, Mark Hedge, because he kept everything running. He kept all of the servers, Free Talk Live, Freaking, a ton of different websites, and he did a lot of stuff for Free Talk Live in the Shire Free Church.
I didn't know the full extent of, what he was doing for the show until you were in jail, and I had to sort out a bunch of things. Luckily, he was still available then for me to talk to, but yeah, he was the back end of Free Talk Live and the web stuff and all of that. Very talented.
Talented, dedicated to freedom. I first started working with Michael prior to moving to New Hampshire. So he was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was helping us a long, long time ago. Almost 2 decades worth of working together with him and I. So he will be missed sorely.
He absolutely will be. Hopefully, you'll be able to attend his funeral or whatever they're planning. I don't know yet what they're planning. But yeah, that did happen. And yes, rest in peace, Michael. It sucks that you had to be in Manchester instead of, here in Keene with your friends, or your friends being allowed to visit you also would have been nice, but that's the way things go sometimes. So anyway, Project Veritas has been releasing several videos over the last several weeks where initially they were getting a presumably attractive female to go onto Tinder and try to find Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson scientists to get them to say basically stupid things.
Oh, well, to speak their mind. I would argue that in today's leak, I would say what they're saying is not stupid. It is the truth.
Well, let me rephrase. From the point of view of a Johnson & Johnson employee, they're saying stupid things.
Yeah, losing their jobs.
They may lose
probably.
Their jobs.
Right, now that's stupid. But especially when they have vowed not to talk about it, signing forms and whatnot, NDAs, and then going on a date with some attractive girl and just spilling the beans.
At one point in the longer video, we're not going to play the whole thing. It's, as usual, about a 10-minute long video. But at one point, one of the guys stops himself and says, "Oh, I did sign an NDA about this," and then he doesn't go on speaking. So who knows what he was about to reveal?
Yeah, but the consent, the general consent amongst these guys is they work for evil corporations.
One of them actually says that.
Yeah,
he actually straight up says that he works for an evil corporation.
And that's
well, we knew that.
Extremely well. A lot of people don't realize that. They don't.
They knew that in 2017,
as they call me a fascist. Whereas here they are taking an unverified vaccine from a huge company that's all in bed with government, basically creating something from our taxpayer money.
Yeah, and they're known to be evil. Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, at least. Moderna is a relatively new company. I'm sure they're going to prove to be evil as well, but they're all known to be evil.
But that was in the past, Aria. That's not this. This is 2021. They have fixed their evil ways. It's only about helping society get past this nonsense.
If they had the self-awareness to even say that, I would respect them more. But instead, they just completely have forgotten that, in 2017, or even just last year, they were criticizing them for these vaccines because it was the Trump vaccine.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But let's go to what these people have to say about it.
Than the actual virus, so your antibodies are probably better at that point than the vaccination.
So obviously there's a lot of background noise. They're out having dinner at some point. So this guy works for Pfizer saying your antibodies are probably better at that point than the vaccination.
And he does sound like a little moronish but he is.
Well, there's an alcoholic beverage in front of him.
Yeah, he's an actual scientist. He doesn't just work for the company.
Yeah,
he's not the janitor or something like that.
All of these guys are scientists in this video, if I recall correctly.
Experienced biochemist at Pfizer with a history of working in the pharmaceutical industry. Nick admits to our undercover journalist that those who've had COVID have stronger immunity than those who've received the Pfizer COVID vaccine.
When somebody is naturally immune, like they got COVID, they probably have better, like not better, but more antibodies against the virus.
I'm not familiar enough with it to know what that means. More antibodies means you're more likely to
fend off the COVID.
Various variants too, right?
Correct. Yeah. Well, the jury's out on that one because eventually something will mutate into something that your antibodies aren't going to be able to defend against. But
sure, just like any other cold virus.
But this year, this 12-month period, I'm going to say no. The antibodies from 6 months ago are probably doing just fine against Delta.
That certainly seems to be the case. I mean, I just went to a festival with like 40,000 people, most of whom were vaccinated, meaning they could get and spread
supposedly.
COVID-19. Well, I have no reason to believe they didn't actually get vaccinated if they were there, because you were required to be vaccinated or just skip the entire line, which is what I did. But 40,000 people-ish, all of whom could have had COVID-19 and could have been given COVID-19, and I'm just fine. You got to figure if the Delta variant is really as contagious as they said, someone out there probably had it.
Yeah.
And it would have spread to everyone except I'm doing just fine.
Because what the vaccine is, like I said, that protein that's just on the outside. So it's just one antibody against one specific part of the virus.
What he's talking about there is that the mRNA vaccines, what they do is they program your body to create the spike proteins that surround the COVID-19 virus, and your body learns to attack and destroy those spike proteins.
Correct. So just the spike proteins. So, but if you got natural immunity, you have antibodies that will defend you against the entire virus, every part of it.
Oh, that also makes sense. And you don't have blood that is programmed to create spike proteins.
Well, they say that it doesn't do it forever. It eventually will wean off, but the jury's still out on that one. It's only been, not even a year yet.
Not to mention, dude, I don't want scientists programming my blood to create things.
Nah.
Not at this point in humanity's, technological development. Maybe in 30 or 40 years, I think humanity might be at that point where we can do that without, devastating consequences. But I don't think we're at that point yet.
That is the plan behind these mRNA vaccines. They are. A lot of people think this is the future. This is the next step in basically. This is Gattaca. This is creating.
I've never seen Gattaca.
This is creating perfect human beings, being able to protect us from everything, including like addictions and whatnot. Would that be something? A vaccine that will keep you free from alcohol addiction?
Well, if it actually worked, but so far I'm not very impressed because the COVID-19 vaccine, as far as I can tell, doesn't actually work. Nope. But what are your thoughts? Maybe we're out of line. Maybe this Pfizer scientist is wrong. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover brings her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160 if you want to weigh in or talk about whatever is important to you. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
It's Ian.
And Conan.
And Conan, next week is Pepper Day, right?
The Pepper Challenge.
Yes.
We've been talking about this for a couple of months now. 3 or 4 months.
Closer to 6, I think. You've been growing those peppers a while, haven't you?
They are the super hot peppers. Are about 120-day lifespan.
Okay.
From seed to actual fruitage, and
So for those who don't know, what we're going to do is we're going to do an episode of Free Your Talk Live where we're going to do something. I don't know, carry on trying to do Free Talk Live or whatever, and we're going to eat ghost peppers and Carolina Reapers as we attempt to do this.
I have not agreed to eating anything of the sort.
I'll have both.
No, you have not, but will you? Will you do it?
I don't know.
I'll have both options available, but
we'll also have milk and ice cream available.
I already hate myself.
Yeah, me too. Because the last time I ate Reapers, I said, I'm never doing that again because I felt them the entire next day as they worked their way through my body. Tremendously unpleasant.
You're not selling this to me at all.
But then you get to say, I ate a Carolina Reaper.
I have 5 different varieties of sauces fermenting in my kitchen as we speak, just processing these bad boys. Just the little splashes of pepper juice coming up off of these Reapers, getting onto my skin is enough. It's told me all I need to know how potent and how dangerous these are.
Reapers?
These are I have 5 different varieties starting from jalapeno all the way up to Reapers. So I got Ghost in there, I got habaneros, different levels. But
See, one of the things I noticed is that once you reach a certain level of hot, it doesn't really feel any hotter. Like the ghost pepper I ate when I was in Kentucky, I couldn't really tell that the Carolina Reapers that I ate were that much hotter.
Yeah.
Because it's just boiling hot anyway.
Well, I can attest that a ghost pepper is much, much hotter than a habanero. I know that, but
Yeah, I would
have-
agree with that.
But I haven't gone to the next level yet, except a little tiny little smidgen. I just took a little, and it was there. This is all you need to know about So this is ghost peppers.
Ghost peppers are the hottest naturally occurring pepper in the world, for those who don't know.
Well, I don't know that they're natural. I know that they're mixed. They're hybrid, as well as reapers. But I think the question is, if you were to just throw some reapers out in the woods, which are it's not a first generation hybrid, so it's an actual established pepper. The question is, if you threw some out in the woods, would they retain their Carolina Reaper attributes, or would they, like a wolf, like Bonnie's little scraggly little dog thing here?
Jesus,
it'll eventually turn.
That was mean, dude.
It'll eventually turn back
awesome.
into if it could survive, it would eventually turn back into a wolf, without human intervention.
Okay.
The question is, would a Reaper retain its attributes and stay a Reaper? I don't think that it would. I think it would basically evolve back into something a little weaker. Here's what you need to know about ghost peppers. So Reapers are twice the potency of a ghost.
2 to 3 times.
And how much more is a ghost than a habanero?
Oh, a lot more.
Yeah, a ghost is like 1 to...
between like 800 and 1.5 million, whereas a habanero is only, 50,000?
You're talking about the Scoville units?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So in the islands in India, they actually, I don't even know if they eat ghost peppers. What they do use them, they mash them up, they make a paste, and they paint them on the fences in order to keep the elephants from breaking out.
Yeah, they don't seem to eat Scotch bonnets in Jamaica, from what I can tell, because they look at us like we're crazy when we eat Scotch bonnets.
Wow.
So we were talking about that. There's the trick where you tether a young elephant with a chain, and when it's a baby, and you basically, by the time it's a full-grown adult, you just tether it with a rope, and the elephant's just learned over time that it's never going to escape, even though it's just a rope. It doesn't know it because it learned from a very young age. Or if you're in India, you just rub ghost pepper paste all over the fences, and that's how you keep your elephants in check. So this is
it's not pleasant stuff.
This is potent
for
stuff.
sure.
Like I said, I already hate myself. I don't know why I even suggested this.
So they say here that the Scotch bonnet and habanero ranks from 100,000 to 350,000 on the Scoville scale, while ghost pepper is 1 million plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can attest to that. It's true. It's real.
Yeah, ghost pepper is significantly hotter than the Scotch bonnets.
So, if you guys,
the Reaper is more than 2 million.
If you would like to see us in pain,
because we're gonna be in pain, dude.
Next Freer Talk Live next Tuesday after about 10 o'clock,
10:30,
10:30ish.
Give it a break.
Give us time to do the archives and all of that stuff, and set up with the milk and stuff like that that we're gonna want accessible. Because it hurts, dude. Having eaten 2 Carolina Reapers, it's painful, and it doesn't go away.
No,
it just hangs there.
Awful.
Yeah, for about 10 minutes, and then
this was closer to like half an hour.
I mean the original intenseness of it, and then it starts to mellow out after about 10ish.
I would say half an hour.
Okay, well,
but these were also dehydrated, so maybe that had an impact on how long it lingered. Either way, that's next Tuesday, so tune into that. You can watch it at video.freetalklive.com. That's probably the best place to find it. Speaking of videos, though, Project Veritas has been going around interviewing various scientists. Last time
this is the 4th week and leak in the 2-week period, and they have just nonstop whistleblowers from these organizations coming out and speaking.
Well, they're not
They're not
whistleblowers.
whistleblowers. They've only had one whistleblower so far, and that was in the first video where it was a nurse from the Department of Health and Human Services.
Right.
She came out, and then she wore the undercover camera into a hospital to get other nurses saying the truth about these vaccines and about the VAERS system and why they don't use it. Very interesting video. I would say this is also very interesting, but none of these guys are purposely coming out. They're all caught on a date with someone who works for Project Veritas with hidden cameras.
Yep.
You're going to start producing antibodies against multiple pieces of virus, and not only just that outside portion, the inside portion, the actual virus. So your antibodies are probably better at that point than the vaccination.
And it makes perfect sense because, as we talked about previously, the vaccine just programs your body to target the spike cell protein, the spike protein cells, or whatever they're called, while the actual antibodies in your body that are naturally produced attack the entire thing, not just one part of it.
But don't take his word for it. 2 other Pfizer scientists echo the same sentiment.
So I'm well protected? Like as much as the vaccine?
Probably more.
How so? Like how much more?
You're protected most likely for longer, since it was a natural response.
We're like bred and taught to be like vaccine is safer than actually getting COVID. You cannot like talk about this like in public. If you have antibodies built up, like you should be able to prove that you have those built up.
I mean, I still feel like I work for like an evil corporation. They're trying to keep track of everyone that's been vaccinated versus the census of how many people are actually reported.
Can you imagine working for an evil corporation and knowing that you work for an evil corporation and continuing to work for that evil corporation?
Nope, I can't.
Lots of people do it every single day. I'm talking to you, government employees.
Well, they don't know they're working for an evil corporation, though. This guy says he feels like he's working for an evil corporation that is motivated just by money.
Money's just so good, I guess.
And he goes on
billions.
He goes on to say that it's all about COVID money now because that's where they're making all of their money. 603-283-6160. Could you work for a company that you believed was evil? It's Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off, now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odysee. You can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odysee today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. Facebook is dismissing congressional testimony by a company whistleblower who claims Mark Zuckerberg's platform puts profits before the public good, has done little to combat misinformation, and inherently understands that it plays a pernicious role in society. Francis Haugen, a former data scientist with the company, was testifying today before the Senate's Commerce Subcommittee after leaking tens of thousands of pages of internal Facebook documents. She says the platform destabilizes democracies, harms children, and now requires government regulation.
Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people.
In a statement, Facebook says she never attended a decision-making meeting with company executives. We don't agree with her characterization of the many issues she testified about, said the company's head of communications. U.S. drug manufacturer Johnson & Johnson is requesting authorization for a booster dose of its COVID-19 vaccine. It comes as AstraZeneca seeks approval for an alternative drug that could help patients with chronic disease where vaccines are less effective. From FSN's Washington Bureau, Nick Harper reports.
Johnson & Johnson has asked the Food and Drug Administration for emergency use authorization for a booster of its single-shot vaccine. J&J says its data shows people aged 18 and older should receive the extra dose at least 6 months after their initial vaccination. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca's drug, called AZD7442, could be an alternative to COVID-19 vaccines and separate from its current coronavirus vaccine.
Britain's Defence Secretary says the army will carry on delivering fuel to petrol stations for weeks or months if needed. Ben Wallace told the Conservative Party's annual conference that he hopes supply and demand for fuel will soon balance one another out. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who addresses the conference on Wednesday, claims the worst of the fuel fuel shortages is over.
This has been overwhelmingly a problem of demand, not supply. The tanker drivers, the lorry drivers, they've got more than the average week's supply to the pumps for the last few days.
The Pope is expressing sorrow over the results of a 2.5-year French investigation that show more than 200,000 children were abused by members of the Catholic clergy in the country. From FSN's Paris bureau, Ross Cullen has the details.
The report is nearly 2,500 pages long and found that the vast majority of victims were pre-adolescent boys. It details multiple testimonies of paedophile acts by both lay and ordained members of the church for a period of 70 years from 1950 until 2020.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live with Aria, Conan, and Ian, and you can get your digital tickets now for Liberty in Our Lifetime, an event being hosted by the Free Private Cities Foundation. Although they've sold out of physical tickets, you can still get virtual tickets at lifetimeliberty.com. Liberty in Our Lifetime is exploring projects happening right now around the world that are working to achieve that lofty goal of securing freedom in our lifetime. Speakers from Crypto Valley, Prospera, the Seasteading Institute, and more will be speaking at the October 16th event. So get your digital tickets now at lifetimeliberty.com and see what people are doing all around the world to create voluntary societies at lifetimeliberty.com. Now, we're talking about this Project Veritas video here, and not surprising to any of us, these scientists, this is a senior associate scientist at Pfizer, admitting that the natural antibodies, the natural response from COVID-19 are better and longer lasting than the vaccines themselves.
And further saying he believes he works for an evil corporation.
Yes.
And continues to do it.
He absolutely said, I still feel like I work for an evil corporation. They go into further details later on. We're not going to watch the entire video, of course, but the article accompanying it goes into further details. And basically, it's all about money.
Yes, taxpayer money. This is that Pfizer is living off of COVID bucks.
Yeah, this is a massive influx of money for them from the American taxpayer. I mean, the government's just pouring money into these three companies, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down.
No, they're developing, and Pfizer and Moderna are both developing a daily COVID pill for people to take if they get COVID. A twice daily COVID pill. They both have that.
Is it supposed to cure COVID?
It's supposed to reduce the severity.
And then you've got Merck, who, by the way, owns the rights to ivermectin.
Oh, really?
And they are coming out with their own preventative.
Preventative.
Yeah, we don't know what's in it yet. Probably ivermectin is in it, but it's not pennies. It's looking like $800 per dose.
What?
And they want people to take this every day?
Well, they've already gotten. That's
not possible. You couldn't.
If the taxpayers are paying for it, if your insurance is paying for it, they'll be able to sell these things. And as long as they keep,
that's going to put insurance out of business, which means the government would have to take it over at that point.
Well, the government's already taken over the distribution of COVID-19 vaccinations.
Maybe that's the whole point of all of this. Build back better. You can't build back better until you destroy everything first, rubbleize, and then you can build from the ashes. And maybe that's the whole point of all of this.
Well, they're hard at work on that. The Treasury Department is still actually considering the $1 trillion coin.
I couldn't believe when I saw that headline today. Now, it's a bit of a stretch to say that they're going to do it. They don't say they have a plan to do that, but there was an interview that Axios did with a former Treasury Department official who said it would be trivial to make it.
Didn't he say something to the effect that they'll do it like a couple of days before the deadline?
It can be done last minute, yeah.
So when is the deadline again? Is it?
I don't remember.
This month?
It can change. The last I heard, it was supposed to be October 18th, but it's the so-called X date, which is the day at which the Treasury Department runs out of money. They've been trying to do what they call quote unquote extraordinary measures to do a little bit of a shell game as much as they can to extend the deadline, but it could be sooner. It could be the 15th. It just depends on the kind of the bills that they have to pay between now and then, and they don't know all of what they're going to have to pay.
It's kind of stupid that they don't know.
Well,
it's kind of stupid that people are still putting up with this.
I know how much money I spend in a day, so I could calculate relatively easily when I would run out of money if I wasn't getting any more income or anything like that. Why can't the government do that? Every household needs to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah, that's the most ludicrous part about all of this, that the three of us, we can't just spin into oblivion and then expect to go into the grocery store and be like, yeah, I don't got any money, but I'm going to need some groceries.
But that's what the government does.
That's exactly what the government does.
And it's spending massive amounts of money on Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. All of these vaccines that people are getting, not to mention the tests. I don't know who even owns the PCR test, but they certainly made a lot of money.
Soros and Gates bought a big PCR testing unit in, I think, in England for like $40 billion or something.
Not surprising.
Oh, yeah, that might be a stretch. I'll look that up. But I know that they... about 5 months ago, 4 months ago, they bought the damn PCR test. So
well, that's too late now. The PCR test is being retired. So I want to know.
Really? They'll use it for the next virus.
I want to know who owned it throughout 2020 because they made a ton of money.
Supposedly, China bought into it, bought bunches and bunches of tests like a month before all this started happening.
And of course, now we know that Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna are making massive amounts of money because to the average person, they think, oh, it's a free vaccine, but it's not. The government is just paying these companies for your vaccine.
Yes, it's your grandchildren who are paying for this vaccine, people.
Basically, our organization is run on COVID money now. You don't talk about anything that can possibly implicate you or like big pharma. Even if you shut the door to the office, it's kind of like, who's listening?
I specifically have like, oh God, I signed NDAs against this.
He just realized what he's been saying for the last 15 minutes. Oh,
well, no, or maybe he was getting ready to say something and then stopped. I think that's what happened in that scene.
Oh yeah. He definitely
Like,
he realized where he was and what he was saying. He's like, oh crap, you know what? I can't say anymore. I just already stepped over the line.
Yeah. I think he was intending to say something else and then realized, oh, wait, I can't tell her that.
Yeah. Well, it'd really be interesting. To be a fly on the wall, man. It'd be really interesting to know what he knows.
Well, at the end of this video, by the way, again, it's 10 minutes. The rest of it, that was sort of the intro that you just played for us. It's the nice thing about these Project Veritas videos is they do quick little 2 or 3 minute long intro, and it gives you the taste of what basically the point of the video is. You really don't have to keep watching. It's just a little bit more explanation from these guys as what you get. But at the very end, the Project Veritas guy, James O'Keefe, I think is his name.
Yeah.
He's on the street throughout this narrating in front of the Pfizer building in whatever their headquarters city is, so New York or Chicago or something.
I was wondering where he was standing.
Yeah, and then at the very end, they have a scene of him going up to the Pfizer building and like talking to a security guard, and she's saying, code yellow, code yellow. So maybe the 5th video is going to be him trying to like confront these people.
They say more videos coming out.
Yeah, it looks pretty interesting.
But these people, they knowingly work for evil corporations. This guy is all giddy about it, even though he's admitted that, natural antibodies are better than the COVID vaccination.
I wouldn't call him giddy about it. He sort of admits it in this sort of sad manner, like more of defeated than anything else, as though he can't do anything else, which of course is completely false.
Yeah, the last guy who was talking about blow darting people, blow darting black people,
the FDA guy,
he was giddy.
No, I think this guy's giddy as well. He said the city of New York needs vax cards and everything. It's just about making it so inconvenient for unvaccinated people to the point where they're just like, screw it, I'll get it.
That's the first guy, not the second guy.
Oh, okay.
The Chris Croce is the guy who was talking about working for an evil corporation.
That's the senior associate scientist as well.
I want to know if the 3 guys we listened to this evening, I want to know if they've been vaccinated and how they feel about it.
Good question.
Because that would also be very telling.
Mm-hmm.
If they know that maybe what the guy was about to say before he shut up, that maybe it's just saline water. There's nothing to it. It doesn't because we know it doesn't work.
Well, if that was the case, it wouldn't be causing blood clots.
Yeah, there's people who are dying ostensibly from these vaccines, so saline's not going to do that.
Well, a lot of people who have taken it supposedly have taken this publicly. Like I'm thinking Biden just got his booster. He's doing just fine.
Well, those could be fake.
Our governor is doing just fine. He was
They're not giving fakes to the regular people.
That's what I mean. It's some people are maybe there's more than one type out floating around out there.
I tend to think differently. I think it's probably just that different people have different reactions to it, and everyone's probably getting the same vaccine. It's just that Biden doesn't have those exact side effects. That's my take on it. So this journalist goes on to ask, so what happened to the monoclonal antibody treatments? I don't remember ever hearing anything about that.
That's the one that Joe Rogan got when he just got COVID like 2 weeks ago. Remember when the ivermectin horse medicine?
I don't think that's the one he got, because this guy says it got pushed to the side. She follows up asking why, and he says money.
He took a bunch of different.
Yeah, but I don't think this thing ever got actually developed. It just got pushed to the side at Pfizer.
It hasn't been approved yet.
What's a monoclonal?
We'll talk about it.
I have no idea. 603-283-6160. If you know, what is a monoclonal antibody treatment? 603-283-6160. There's more coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Fork Fest takes place the week after Pork Fest, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest Forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Forkfest.party. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, where you're invited to join us and talk about whatever is important to you. That's 603-283-6160 if you want to join the conversation. 603-283-6160. And I want to tell you about Bitcoin.com. It is the best place to go to learn about cryptocurrency. If you're new to it, just click Getting Started at the top of the page. There's a short video there for you to watch that will teach you the basics of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology and why it's so important, because it is important. It's changing the world. Every day, more and more blockchain-based technologies are developed, and Bitcoin is at the heart, the genesis of all of it. So head on over to Bitcoin.com to learn about it. But if you already know about it and you just want to stay up to date on what's happening in the world of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin.com still has something for you at news.bitcoin.com. You can stay up to date on all of the news and headlines relevant to you. News.bitcoin.com. All of it's on a sleek, easy-to-use modern website, Bitcoin.com. Now, we mentioned whistleblowers earlier. Conan, you described the people that we were just talking about in the Project Veritas video as being whistleblowers.
Corrected.
Sure. But we also have an actual whistleblower, a Facebook whistleblower, who says that Facebook knows they're doing harm to people. And from what I can tell, it's mostly Instagram that they're referring to.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about that.
Well, I haven't looked that closely into it, so I guess we should.
So, in case people didn't know, I think it was yesterday morning, Facebook's, not servers went down, but their DNS records were pulled from the registry, basically, or pulled from whatever tables.
If I remember correctly, there's like 12 master DNS servers, or maybe 13 across the entire internet. So erasing it from those 13 servers would have just made it impossible to connect to them.
Yeah, so basically if people tried to connect to Facebook and or Instagram and any of their other Facebook products, whatever, WhatsApp, I think is their chat server, all of that stuff was down.
See, I didn't even notice because I spent most of yesterday with my phone face down on my desk on mute, getting stuff done.
So this happened at what time yesterday?
Yesterday morning or something like that. I don't use Facebook. I haven't for years, but I heard, that this was going on, so I went to
I'm
verify.
sure people freaked out.
Yeah, and they were down. You could not do anything. It was so bad, apparently, that the Facebook employees, there's a report saying they couldn't even get into their office because, they're using their own server for like authentication of various different things, right? You can't send mail.
Yep.
You can't receive mail. I mean,
so Facebook was just off the internet entirely.
The DNS was gone for Facebook.
Is it back?
It's back.
Okay.
They got it fixed.
Do they know what happened?
I don't know what the official story is. I've not looked for a follow-up, but whatever it is, they're probably lying about it.
They haven't blamed it on North Korea yet, and that's telling.
Well, it happened to coincide with this Facebook so-called whistleblower coming out.
Oh, did it?
By the way,
she came out basically Sunday, and then the next morning, poof.
So I saw the backlash today. Everyone's claiming I'm a Facebook shutdown survivor and what. Just
you got to be kidding.
A lot of all silly, all in jest.
Okay.
It's hard to say when people are saying.
At least I hope.
It's hard to say when people are saying I'm a COVID survivor. How serious it is when they say they survived something like the Facebook shutdown.
Hearing the story of how the employees couldn't get in their own building, it also made me realize how much software out there, how many programs out there give you the option to sign in with your Facebook account.
That failed for anyone who was attempting to get into whatever those websites
right.
are.
I know. I know at least I'm on at least a dozen programs that is an option. And which I don't use, by the way.
Don't do that.
I always sign in via email or some other route. But I'm just thinking of all those nice programs that make my life easier. Just not being there anymore. Could you imagine if the internet wasn't here tomorrow? This is just.
Well, I spent a few days without the internet right after I got out of jail.
I mean, I'm just
no
thinking,
internet access whatsoever. So yeah, I fully can appreciate what that would be like.
I'm just thinking about
no text messaging, no Facebook Messenger, no communicating with people digitally.
Right.
Oh yeah, dude, it's
become a part of your life.
Sure,
absolutely.
But as a prepper, I'm just thinking. I just stop and think about all of the knowledge that I wouldn't have access to if the internet just stopped tomorrow.
Well, the good news is, and I know that there's a lot of people who believe there's some sort of a plan to turn off the internet, but the reality is there's too much money in it. And so politicians, they all have, a lot of them have stake in things like Amazon, and they themselves, of course, the government uses the internet for all manner of different things. I mean, I don't see that there's any chance beyond some sort of, cataclysmic event that the government has nothing to do with. Solar flare or something like that.
Well, and I agree with you, but not because there's money involved, but because this has become the third tier of bread, circuses, and internet.
It keeps people distracted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you took the internet away from the folks, oh wow,
they're gonna get mad.
I think I have a more obvious explanation than that. I mean, the government relies on the internet as much as anyone else does.
They rely on it a lot. And there's a lot of money being made by the people who are giving the government guys a bunch of money, right? So that's not going away. But that doesn't mean they're not going to try to control it. And that's what this story is ultimately all about. This isn't about somebody coming out and saying, ooh, Facebook bad.
We knew that.
This is about somebody coming out and saying, Facebook bad, government needs to make it better.
Oh, yeah. And that is so telling. If any guy who basically has a monopoly on the system comes out and says, you know what, I would like government to stand over my shoulder and tell me and my company what they need to do. If you ever see this scenario, you know something's up. When Zuckerberg comes out and says we need more regulation,
that's what they're coming out.
Something's up.
Yeah, they're coming out and saying that, like some people are saying, right on cue. The whistleblower's name is Frances Haugen. This according to CNBC. She spoke to a Senate panel today, saying that Congress must intervene to solve the crisis created by her former employer's products. The former Facebook product manager for civic misinformation, that's apparently a job title at Facebook, told lawmakers that Facebook consistently puts its own profits over users' health and safety.
Oh, shut up. Every organization out there does the same thing.
Including Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson.
Which is largely a result of its algorithm's design that steers users toward high-engagement posts that in some cases can be more harmful. Though she stopped short of accusing top executives of intentionally creating harmful products, she said that Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO, has to be responsible for the impact of his business. And she said that Facebook's algorithm could steer young users from something relatively innocuous, such as healthy recipes, to content promoting anorexia in a short period of time. She proposed a solution for Facebook to change its algorithms.
I have a better solution. Parents should raise their kids to not be anorexic and to not have eating disorders.
Yeah, but parents aren't raising their kids these days.
They're putting them on Facebook. They're leaving them alone, right?
That, and they're sending them off to school for 8 hours every day.
Yeah, so don't let Facebook and the public education system raise your children, and it won't matter if your kid's seeing ads for anorexia.
If you've got mom and dad working all day because the price of everything is skyrocketed, it's really hard to walk away from free daycare.
Well, the reality is it's worth figuring out a way to do it.
This is the truth.
She proposed a solution that would have Facebook change its algorithms to stop focusing on delivering posts that create more engagement and instead create a chronological feed of posts for Facebook users.
Well, that's just how it used to be.
That's true. And she said that
by the way, that's how Mastodon is.
And Twitter.
They don't just they're not forcing you to look at things that you didn't want to look at. Is you got one feed, that's it. When you get to the bottom, when you get scrolled to the bottom, you're done.
I can imagine scrolling to the bottom of a Facebook feed, though.
There is no bottom.
There is no bottom.
Right.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Even if it was just most recent, I've got something like 1,000 friends on Facebook. It would take forever to go through the feed.
You need to do some weeding.
She said that would help Facebook deliver safer content. Now,
it would help them deliver content neutral content.
Yeah.
Or message neutral.
Look, it's not a bad idea. Right, as far as...
I would love for them to go back to most recent.
Yeah, then you actually find out what your friends have to say rather than what Facebook thinks that you want to see. And that certainly is, a preferable situation, but it shouldn't be mandated by law. The government should not be forcing Facebook to change its business model.
Right.
You can go away from Facebook, and you can use, as you say, Mastodon, Conan. Social.freetalklive.com. That's our Mastodon server. If you don't like that one, you can go to Liberdon, or there's a bunch of other Mastodon servers. Some of them might be not so freedom-friendly. Others might be more freedom-friendly because the server admin gets to make all of those decisions. And so if you haven't had a chance to check that out, it's a great decentralized, federated, open source alternative
option to Facebook.
Yeah. And by the way, Mastodon servers were online on Monday morning while Facebook was completely down. Haugen unmasked herself Sunday as the source behind leaked documents at the core of a revealing Wall Street Journal series about Facebook. Testified before the Senate Commerce Subcommittee on Consumer Protection, and then told CBS 60 Minutes in an interview this weekend that the problems she saw at Facebook were worse than anywhere else she has worked.
Well, they definitely have problems at Facebook, but getting the government to step in and fix those problems is only going to exacerbate them and create new problems. But what do you think? Maybe government is the answer here. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen has offered a blistering critique of her former employer during congressional testimony in Washington. She told U.S. lawmakers Facebook has misled the public and that it is putting its profits before people. FSN's Rachel Silverman has more.
Whistleblower Frances Haugen told the lawmakers that Facebook intentionally targets teens and children under the age of 13. She spoke at a Senate hearing entitled Protecting Kids Online, meant primarily to look at Facebook's own research into what effects its photo app Instagram has on the mental health of younger users. Haugen argued Facebook needs more regulation, and she says the company lacks the staffing, expertise, and transparency needed to make meaningful change. Facebook says Haugen worked for the company for less than 2 years and never on the subject matter she has spoken out about.
Victims are demanding the French Catholic Church pay for its crimes after a newly released report says an estimated 216,000 children were subject to abuse by clergy. In a statement, the Vatican says Pope Francis felt pain on hearing the findings of the investigation, which looked at abuse going back to the 1950s. The United Nations World Meteorological Organization is urging the international community to wake up to a looming water crisis. A new report warns that climate change and population growth will lead to greater water stress in the coming years. William Denzelo reports from UN headquarters in New York.
A collaboration between the WMO, scientific institutions and development agencies, the State of Climate Services report warns that more than 5 billion people could have inadequate water access by 2050. The report finds that 107 nations are set to miss targets to sustainably manage water resources by the year 2030. The UN's weather agency is calling for the international community to boost financing and improve coordination for emergency warning systems.
U.S. drug maker Johnson & Johnson has requested authorization for a booster dose of its COVID-19 vaccine. Here's Nick Harper from Washington.
Johnson & Johnson has asked the Food and Drug Administration for emergency use authorization for a booster of its single-shot vaccine. J&J says its data shows people aged 18 and older should receive the extra dose at least 6 months after their initial vaccination. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca's drug, called AZD7442, could be an alternative to COVID-19 vaccines and separate from its current coronavirus vaccine. It's an antibody combination that could be used by those with chronic diseases that cause vaccines to be less effective.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, taking a closer look today at tensions between China and Taiwan. They are rising, with the Chinese Air Force conducting a growing number of flights that pierce Taiwan's defense zone and incur the anger of, among others, the US government. The Biden administration warned over the weekend that China's actions are destabilizing and provocative. So why is China acting now? Dylan Lowe is a Singapore-based analyst of cross-straits relations.
There are several important dates coming up. China with its own National Day and Taiwan with its own National Day. 2022 will also be the 20th Congress where Xi Jinping may look to further his grip on power and extend his position. I think there is a need or a greater desire or motivation for Beijing to reassert control or give the appearance that they are not letting Taiwan have any sort of freedom or breathing space. Also to remind the Taiwanese not to say or make any gestures that may be deemed as provocative.
Some US-based analysts wonder whether China isn't also partly testing the will of the Biden administration. Just weeks after the botched US military pullout from Afghanistan raised questions for US allies in other parts of the world. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the top news again. Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen has offered a blistering critique of her former employer during congressional testimony in Washington. Victims are demanding the French Catholic Church pay for its crimes after a newly released report says an estimated 216,000 children were subject to abuse by clergy. And the UN is urging the international community to wake up to a looming water crisis. And that's the latest from Feature Story News. Rebecca Foster reporting.
The CEO of Dollar Tree unveils the long-rumored foil baking pan. A new donor liver complains about the difficulty of working with Lou Reed. And a local couple keeps their marriage together for the sake of no one. We'll keep this as quick and painless as possible. This is The Onion Week in Review. A study published this week in the Journal of Financial Economics found that 83% of gamblers quit right before they would have hit the big one. Researchers confirmed that roughly 8 out of 10 gamblers who walked away from slot machines, poker games, horse races, roulette, and other games were consistently just a single stake away from winning it all, and unknowingly gave up a lifetime of fortune by quitting prematurely.
Our study proved that subjects who closed an online poker session, walked away from a slot machine, or even gave up gambling altogether would have won millions of dollars in the next bet. Also, people who walk away after hitting it big are missing out on a chance to make more money. I mean, when you're hot, you're hot.
In other news, an Asian guy has a separate group of Asian friends, and a vain Galapagos tortoise tries to pass for 90.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160 if you want to join us. 603-283-6160. And who is us? Well, it's Aria.
It's Ian.
And Kurt.
And it's been a wild day, man. We got the news that Michael Hampton died today, which sucks. Of course, it's also primary day here in Keene. I'm anxiously looking forward to the results for that because I don't know. I feel pretty good about the chances with me having name recognition already and the other guy being just completely bonkers.
Just a complete douche.
It's very interesting. For our listeners that don't know, of course, our listeners probably know that you ran for sheriff last year in Cheshire County, New Hampshire, and made international headlines. It was a huge blow-up and sensational story. But this year you threw in your hat for mayor because in New Hampshire every year, actually every 6 months, there's basically an election if you include the school board. But it's every year. So at least here in Keene, I don't know about the rest. I can't speak for the rest of the cities or towns in the state, but you get the state elections every 2 years, and then on every those are every even year, and then the odd years the municipal town elections happen. So we're in the municipal election season right now. You threw in for mayor. There were 2 other candidates: the incumbent, and then another guy that's kind of new to town, like within the last 6 years, who I'd never heard of before. He threw his hat in the race. He didn't go for city council first or anything like that. He went straight in for mayor.
But he put no effort into it, right? He made it clear that he's not going to do any signs or any campaign.
Did he say that?
Yeah, part of the 24-page insanity that he wrote.
I didn't read all that.
I read every word of it because I just could not stop.
Like watching a train wreck?
Yeah, it's like watching multiple train wrecks and all of the trains are full of babies. It's so horrifying you cannot look away.
So this guy is like in his 60s. He looks like an old guy, and when I first saw him, and I wrote an article about this at freekeen.com, his candidacy, the Sentinel deserves the credit for breaking this story. Late last week, the Keene Sentinel broke the news that this guy running for mayor is now being accused of stalking by a city employee. Now, the Sentinel refused to give her name, even though it's public record, because there's a lawsuit.
There's only a couple of them, so
she's going after this guy. It's not criminal. He's not been arrested criminally yet. But there's something
It
called...
sounds like it came close.
Might have.
Because he blocked her driveway, rang her doorbell, took pictures of it, said he wanted to deliver a pumpkin
This was
her.
after asking her out, after hanging around the city clerk's office for an inordinate amount of time. He then shows up at her house and is ultra creepy, and it's a really interesting and crazy story. But when I heard about this, I'm like, oh my God. If Arya didn't have a chance before, she definitely has a chance now. Like before, I would have said it'd be a toss-up, right? Like
sure.
The way that the town handles these primaries is there's no attention given whatsoever to it. Like
we learned that last year.
I didn't even know about it till this morning.
Yeah. Did you go and vote?
Oh yeah, I was at 198th.
There's no attention given to it. Like the Sentinel. I think they wrote like one piece about who filed early on. But
they wrote a piece today that it's municipal election day.
Yeah, but they never did any interviews with the candidates. They don't talk to them prior to...
Mia interviewed me. Mia at the Sentinel.
But that was for that brief overview story of here's the candidates that have filed. That happened a month ago. There was never like a profile piece about you. There was never a profile piece about this other guy. There was nothing like that. Nothing.
True. And they did that for the sheriff elections and some of the other county elections.
Yeah. And I don't know if they only do it when Free Staters or Liberty people run, because we always run. So we've always got somebody in there. So it's like
I
they
know,
try
but
to
I'm
ignore
sad,
us.
dude. We only had 2 libertarians on my ballot today, and that was me and you.
I know. It's
I definitely know that the local radio guy, he won't cover primaries, especially when it's libertarians are on the ticket, and you just won't, and you get primaried out. And you don't stand a chance, and no one knows your case. No one knows where you stand. It's horrible. But what's worse than that is the fact that we even had a primary today for just one person. Arya, thank you very much. You just wasted the city $20,000.
And I take pride in that. I also managed to get a parking ticket court date today. I'd been putting that off, but I finally went there and got it.
Nice.
They did not make me wait for a cop. She asked if I wanted to speak to an officer. I said no, that's not necessary. Thank you. But
what good would that do?
But she still had a cop come a few minutes later and actually hand me the paperwork.
That's what they have to do.
Evidently, she can't just hand it to me. But I was there like a total of 10 minutes, so in and out.
Okay.
But I'm really happy about that because the fine for the parking ticket is $10.
That's right.
I don't know how much money they're going to spend taking this to court, and even if they convict me on it, I cost them way more than $10.
Oh, yeah.
So it's win-win all around. And me running for mayor cost them $20,000 is your estimate.
Right, because they wouldn't have had a primary because they only have primaries in the municipal election if there are more candidates than are allowed to go to the general election. So if there's more than 2 mayoral candidates, and there are 3, then they have to have a primary to eliminate
It's absolutely
one.
ridiculous.
It's
They
stupid.
really need to change that in the charter. If I was on the council, that would be one of my mainstays. I'd be like, we need to get rid of this. It's wasting money. It's wasting people's time.
Well, Conan, if I get elected to the city council, I will put that down.
I really need to know how much a
you.
municipal primary costs now, because I would love to know how much money I actually cost Keene by running for mayor.
Ask the clerk, Patty. Just ask her, and she'll tell you exactly. And this was It was $20,000 5 years ago.
Nice.
Who knows what it costs today? It might be $30,000
They
now.
don't even pay those people. It's all a bunch of volunteers. Isn't it?
It's the stupid ballots. Those ballots are expensive, and they got the machines.
Right.
And no, they do get paid.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
I thought all they got was like a sandwich.
The last time it was Lucas.
Here's your ham and cheese.
Yeah.
One of the most expensive restaurants in this town. They spent like $1,000.
Oh wow.
Serving lunch from that restaurant. Back when I did my FOIA many years ago to figure out what was actually going into these things.
So as you pointed out, Conan, when you went to go vote, what time was it?
6:30.
Oh, so you voted on your way in.
I was 198th, so it's probably another couple dozen or so.
Barely 200 people in one ward. So there's 5 wards in Keene voted. So let's call it an estimate of 1,000 people.
1,000 people, yeah.
Voted in this primary election. I mean, seriously, if freedom lovers locate themselves here in New Hampshire in large number, we can do anything as far as winning primaries and that sort of thing.
Speaking of that, let's go to Jeanette, who's calling from San Diego. Jeanette, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call.
Hi, Jeanette.
Ian, love the shirt. I got to get that for my husband.
Oh, thanks. I don't know if it's available anymore. This is an old shirt. This probably costs like a whole Bitcoin back in the day.
Well, maybe.
It probably, if it no longer exists, it's probably still costing about a whole Bitcoin.
For listeners that don't know, it's the Bitcoin Rebel shirt. It's the word rebel with a B in it. The Bitcoin B.
So what did you want to talk about tonight, Jeanette?
Oh, yes. I'm calling because I called a couple months ago to complain about my friends who only wanted to do virtual hangouts.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
So we scheduled one for last month, and then they ended up canceling that on me.
They canceled the virtual hangout?
Yes, they did.
Was it because of concerns of COVID-19, or was it just we have other stuff to do?
One was because they're in a bad mood. The other one overslept, and the other one just didn't.
You got really great friends, lady.
I know. Yeah, so it's stuff like that is why I'm calling. It's that, and I'm out here in California, and they just mandated that kids have to get the vaccine, and I really don't want any of my kids getting the vaccine.
This is kids at public and private school. Does it apply to homeschool?
Oh, that's true. I didn't think of that, but we are planning on homeschooling, especially now given that mandate.
Well, it's very difficult to do that in California.
Yeah, from what I understand, and I'm not a parent, so I never had to look into this, but I've heard California is one of the worst places that you can possibly be if you're going to be a homeschooler. Like insane regulations.
Yeah, I've heard about you have to submit a name for the school. You have to submit paperwork. I think you guys talked about it a little bit on the show last night about all the paperwork.
But you don't want to stay in California, do you, Jeanette?
No. So it's stuff like that really makes me want to move to New Hampshire. But the issue I'm facing is how do I tell my family that, because I know they're just going to think I'm crazy.
Are they a bunch of California liberals or something?
Yes, they are.
Can we hang on to Jeanette?
Jeanette, can you hang on for another segment?
Oh, sure.
Okay, awesome. So how do you... I didn't tell I think I told my sister that I was moving to New Hampshire.
Here's how you do it. You say, goodbye.
Yeah, I don't think the rest of them even got a goodbye. I was just like, I'm gone.
I'll see you on Zoom.
But of course, I mean, other people do have ties to their family. 603-283-6160. There's more coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, where we've been uploading our videos to Library for years because Library is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it. In 2020, Library also launched Odyssey, which is a video sharing website, front-end, and streaming service that is backed up by Library, and it's really taking off. Now it's got over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators because, like us, other people are constantly facing the threat of being kicked off of YouTube if they say anything that even slightly goes outside the government's lines. I'm actually surprised we're still streaming on YouTube. This is like a new COVID record for us, right? 2 whole weeks or so without being kicked off of YouTube. It's shocking, but it's going to happen. At any moment, we're going to get another strike, and then someone will comb through some angry person will comb through our videos and find something else to get us a strike over. It's inevitable. One day, YouTube, Facebook as well, probably. YouTube is going to kick us off. So find us at video.freetalklive.com. That takes you directly to our Odyssey channel. And there you can watch our live streams, or you can just check out the video archives. That's video.freetalklive.com. We are talking with Jeanette, though, about how to tell your family that you want to move to New Hampshire, because especially being on the other side of the country, I can understand why, it would sound crazy for you to be like, hey, I want to move literally as far away from here as possible.
Do they know that you don't like it where you live?
Yes, because we have talked to them about possibly moving to Arizona, and that was originally our goal. But just with everything that's happening, and then all the good things happening in New Hampshire, with New Hampshire possibly seceding from the United States, that's where my husband and I want to be.
Well,
but
we're possibly going to have a constitutional amendment asking the question about secession.
Which, if it passes, then we will secede from the United States.
Peacefully. And by the way, as far as homeschooling states, New Hampshire is one of the best. All you have to do is just tell the school district, if you even want to, if you even go that far, just say, hey, look, I'm homeschooling.
Yeah, that's only if they know you exist.
There's no tests. There's no reporting into them every 6 months.
That's only if they know you even exist, right?
That's
like if you move in from San Diego, they don't even know you're here. So you don't have to tell them anything.
True. Yeah. So my question is is there common arguments that are used for talking to, crazy California liberals?
Well, when you say family, I'm confused. Do you mean like your husband and your kids, or do you mean like your mother and your stepmom and your stepdad and your father?
Yeah. I mean, my mom and dad and my sisters and my mother-in-law kind of knows that we want to move to New Hampshire. I've told her that in the past. And she'd actually moved with us because she grew up in Boston and she'd love to go back to the East Coast. But I'm talking about my family, and we're very close to my family and my husband's family as well, because since we're both working right now, they're the ones that watch our kids for us.
That's a big one right there. And by the way, I take it you actually spend FaceTime, like you spend time with your family as opposed to your friends, which you only ever see on FaceTime and Zoom.
Yeah, exactly. My family's my parents are vaccinated and extended family are vaccinated and whatnot, and they have no problem spending time with us. But we see them at least 2-3 times a week, so we're very close. So that's just the struggle that I'm having.
Here's my question, I guess, is like, you know your family best. Why is it that you even feel the need to ask 3 total strangers how you should approach them about this?
Because we're cool, man.
What? Because we all did it.
Because we all did it.
Yeah, exactly.
We all moved here from other places, right?
Right. I'm sure I told my parents at some point, but it's like such an incidental, thing for me. I don't remember anything about it.
See, I didn't tell mine. I think my family learned about it from my sister. I think they asked her, hey, is she coming back? Except obviously they didn't say she is.
I told my parents, and they helped me move. But every time my folks who are retired and can travel come to visit me every year, which was last week, by the way, my dad is always, dude, you've got to come visit. You've got to. And he's always telling me to come back because Tennessee's doing all right as well. But I love New Hampshire. It's a really hard move, but that's where all my family are.
Are you worried that this conversation is going to go bad? I mean, what do you need the advice for?
Yeah, I'm just worried that they're not going to understand why we're moving, and I'm just worried that they're going to try to talk us out of it, since they wouldn't.
Would that work? Is there anything that they could say that would keep you in California?
Oh, I'm just worried about if I move away from all my family and friends, am I going to struggle? Am I going to become depressed or withdrawn or whatnot?
There are so many Liberty communities here in New Hampshire. I mean, especially here in Kitten. I've never felt lonely. I came here with a friend that I'd barely even known at that point. There are no family.
There are groups. Now we're all people that don't have kids. Conan, you had one, but she's moved out.
She's off on her own.
So at the point, this time, we don't have kids, so we're not hanging around with the family groups. But there are groups of freedom-loving families here in New Hampshire. I know they're out in the Seacoast and the Manchester area. There's some of them out in the west side of the state.
With homeschool hubs.
As well. Lots of them are into homeschooling and, you know, getting together. I've seen photos online of like Liberty Moms or whatever. So like a bunch of moms get together and they get together in real life and actually hang out. So like there are these groups of people who share your beliefs and are willing to actually get together. So those networks exist here, and it's only a matter of time before you get connected to those people. So I wouldn't worry about not having friends. You know, what some people say about coming here is that you meet friends that you didn't know you have, basically. Like, it's not hard to meet people here who share fundamental beliefs, and that helps. Now, there's so many people here that you probably will meet some people you don't like, and that's okay, too, because there's enough people here to where you can actually be choosy and hang out with only the ones that you get along with the best, which is nice.
And if you were making any argument from any other state other than like New York or California, I don't even see the argument. If you say you were in Texas right now, I'd be like, yeah, that would be a really hard move if your whole family was there. But you're in California. It sucks. That's all we hear is the bad news coming from that state. They're just it's like they're trying to tear it down.
Well, which part of California are you in? Oh, you're in San Diego. Sorry, yeah.
San Diego.
Oh, yeah, that's...
Yeah, she was up north in Jefferson. It'd be a different argument.
Yeah, get the hell out of California, though. I mean, that should be an easy sell. And
well,
I understand
you don't have to sell them. I mean, it doesn't matter what they think about it. Your life should be lived for you, and it should be what Jeanette wants that is what matters. And if your parents are so possessive, and I'm not saying they're like this, I'm just speaking generally of, I'm sure there are some people out there that have these situations where their parents act like they still own them or whatever, even after they've grown, you know, their kids have grown up. You're not their child. You know, they don't get to tell you what to do.
And actually, I would take it one step further. It's not what Jeanette wants. It's what your kids need to develop into good human beings later in life. That's
what Jeanette is saying, though, is that she wants her family to be on board with it and supportive of it.
Well, there's no guarantees.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you said. My kids have to wear masks at school, and it's horrible. So thank you so much. I feel a lot better.
Good luck, Jeanette.
Yeah, absolutely. Good
luck. Let us know how it turns out.
And let us know when you get to New Hampshire. There's always people hanging around here doing stuff. There's something every Friday here in Keene, every Sunday here in Keene. And it's not just here. It's also in Manchester, and I think Concord has
There's a whole calendar. If you go to calendar.shiresociety.com, it'll take you to the Free State Project calendar, which aggregates a bunch of events from across the state.
And as you were pointing out, fewer than 1,000 people voted in today's primary. Imagine what we could accomplish if you came here. 603-283-6160.
If you want to bring more liberty into your community, there's something you should see. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, break through. It's true. It's truly something new. If you'd like to see real prosperity, start your own currency, boost the economy. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, its impact's hard to overstate. Results you can appreciate. If you're tired of relying on the state, want to make your own community great. Homelessness and hunger to eliminate. Let the wealth accumulate. Don't wait for the growth rate to accelerate. Go to intercoin.org and get the coins for yourself.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen has offered a blistering critique of her former employer during congressional testimony in Washington. She told U.S. lawmakers Facebook has misled the public and that it is putting its profits before people. FSN's Rachel Silverman has more.
Whistleblower Frances Haugen told the lawmakers that Facebook intentionally targets teens and children under the age of 13. She spoke at a Senate hearing entitled Protecting Kids Online, meant primarily to look at Facebook's own research into what effects its photo app Instagram has on the mental health of younger users. Haugen argued Facebook needs more regulation, and she says the company lacks the staffing, expertise, and transparency needed to make meaningful change. Facebook says Haugen worked for the company for less than 2 years and never on the subject matter she has spoken out about. Rachel Silverman, Oakland.
Victims are demanding the French Catholic Church pay for its crimes after a newly released report says an estimated 216,000 children were subject to abuse by clergy. In a statement, the Vatican says Pope Francis felt pain on hearing the findings of the investigation, which looked at abuse going back to the 1950s. The United Nations World Meteorological Organization is urging the international community to wake up to a looming water crisis. A new report warns that climate change and population growth will lead to greater water stress in the coming years. William Denzilo reports from UN headquarters in New York.
A collaboration between the WMO, scientific institutions and development agencies, the State of Climate Services report warns that more than 5 billion people could have inadequate water access by 2050. The report finds that 107 nations are set to miss targets to sustainably manage water resources by the year 2030. The UN's weather agency is calling for the international community to boost financing and improve coordination for emergency warning systems. William Denzilo, New York.
U.S. drug maker Johnson & Johnson has requested authorization for a booster dose of its COVID-19 vaccine. Here's Nick Harper from Washington.
Johnson & Johnson has asked the Food and Drug Administration for emergency use authorization for a booster of its single-shot vaccine. J&J says its data shows people aged 18 and older should receive the extra dose at least 6 months after their initial vaccination. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca's drug, called AZD7442, could be an alternative to COVID-19 vaccines and separate from its current coronavirus vaccine. It's an antibody combination that could be used by those with chronic diseases that cause vaccines to be less effective.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, and last year we told you about Intercoin, which can help any business or organization launch their own currency or raise money using their own token. Now Intercoin.org has launched worldwide, so if there's a token you want to launch or an app you want to build, go to Intercoin.org, enter your email, and the team will get in touch with you and learn about your needs. And while you're there, you might want to go ahead and pick up some Intercoins for yourself. That's Intercoin.org, INTER coin.org. With you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Ian.
And Conan.
And we're talking about whistleblowers, namely this Facebook whistleblower who says that Facebook is damaging people with their algorithms and government needs to force them to basically go back to the way it used to work, where it would just show you the most recent items your friends had posted.
Is that what she's suggesting?
Apparently, yeah.
And then they
she
added
wants the government to mandate it.
Then they added the most popular feature, but they left the most recent there, and then they got rid of the most recent, and now it's just whatever Facebook thinks you're interested in. If you want to see what
sell you, that's what it's all about.
Well, no, they want you to keep on the site so they can sell you.
Correct.
So they share the things with you that are the high engagement posts because they think you're more likely to engage, and then keep coming back, right? To keep seeing the updates and keep seeing people arguing with one another, and then seeing the advertisements, and then possibly clicking on an advertiser and so on. This woman came out this weekend after already revealing documents to the Wall Street Journal secretively in the past. Her name is Frances Haugen. She worked with this. What the hell's there's a certain division of Facebook where civic misinformation. She was the product manager for civic misinformation. So it sounds like she was on the fact check team or whatever, right?
Yeah. So she's not even upset about Facebook's fact-checking. She's upset about how they're displaying content to people.
Correct. She's upset about the algorithm, and she puts it in these terms, which is totally about pandering to what people consider to be important these days: safety. She says, I saw that Facebook repeatedly encountered conflicts between its own profits and our safety.
Oh, shut
They
up.
consistently resolve those conflicts in favor of its own profits. The result has been a system that amplifies division, extremism, and polarization, and undermining societies around the world. And you know what? if that's what Facebook's plan was, then I guess I got to support them on those goals. But
yeah, well, they have to like 3 billion subscribers now or something.
Something like that.
Something huge.
It's close to half the planet. Yeah.
That's something to.
Now, whether they're active or not, they may have 3 billion accounts, but how many people are actually still using it?
I have 2 accounts.
There you go. You're messing up the system.
Well, during the sheriff campaign, I finally broke down and created an alt account for when my main one got suspended, but they ended up suspending it, and I've never used it since. Now, when they ban me, I just go back to not being on Facebook.
She says, I came forward because I recognized a frightening truth. Almost no one outside of Facebook knows what happens inside Facebook. The company's leadership keeps vital information from the public, the U.S. government, its shareholders, and governments around the world.
Well, they're a private company, in theory, so they have the right to do that.
She said in a turning point that a turning point convinced her of the need to bring information outside of Facebook was when the company dissolved the civic integrity team after the 2020 U.S. election.
Wait. What's her title again? Do you remember?
Well, it was.
I thought she was the civic person.
And she's a civic misinformation
product
person.
manager for civic misinformation.
Huh.
She says
can you even imagine what she did day to day?
Wait. So basically, she is complaining about her job. Isn't she basically pointing out what she would uncover if she was being a responsible civic undercover person?
Well, I don't know if she's complaining about her job. I mean, it sounds like a product manager for civic misinformation is somebody who is in charge of the team that labels things as fake news or whatever.
But how
That's
does
just
a
my
product
guess.
manager get into that?
I'm
dying to know what this lady actually did at Facebook headquarters on a day-to-day basis.
I don't know. But she says that they dissolved the civic integrity team, and Facebook said it would integrate those responsibilities into other parts of the company, but she said that within 6 months of the reorganization, 75% of her pod of 7 people who had mostly come from civic integrity left for other parts of the company or left entirely.
Okay, so she is upset that they disbanded her department, and a lot of the people who had worked with her in that department ended up quitting or working somewhere else.
Yeah, and maybe she didn't like her new assignment or something like that, so she went rogue and turned against Facebook. And so it goes on.
Unless this is what she was been employed to do.
You mean like she's been a double agent or a secret agent all along?
Sure, why not?
On behalf of whom?
Facebook. She works for Facebook.
Wait, no, she doesn't work for them anymore.
Oh, really?
She's formerly.
Okay, well that helps. Yeah. That part of the argument doesn't help my argument at all.
Unless Facebook is still secretly paying her in an untraceable currency like Monero.
And if you look at other big industry like Big Pharma and I don't know FDA, CDC, they're all in bed together. They work for one, and then they switch gears. And now I'm CEO at CDC. I'm CEO at FDA. They're constantly the
So maybe she's being paid by Facebook to speak in front of Congress.
Well, I don't know, but she is saying here
I don't think that's the case.
She quit in May and claimed she copied tens of thousands of pages of internal research before she quit her job and took them with her. And then she went to Wall Street Journal.
I sure hope she has some sort of immunity granted to her by Congress for this, because that sounds like it's all sorts of violations.
Yeah, stay out of small planes, stay out of hot tubs. Don't go kayaking down the river anytime soon.
Well, one thing's for sure, whether she still works for Facebook or not, Facebook is agreeing with this woman. Facebook not agreeing with all of her allegations, but agreeing with her conclusion, which is that the government needs to step in. According to the Facebook's spokesperson, Lena Peach, their director of policy communications, quote, "Today, a Senate Commerce Subcommittee held a hearing with a former product manager at Facebook who worked for the company for less than 2 years, had no direct reports, never attended a decision point meeting with C-level executives, and I don't know what that means, and testified more than 6 times to not working on the subject matter in question," said Facebook's spokesperson. She said further, quote, "We don't agree with her characterization of the many issues she testified about. Despite all this, we agree on one thing. It's time to begin to create standard rules for the Internet. It's been 25 years since the rules for the Internet have been updated, and instead of expecting the industry to make societal decisions that belong to legislators, it's time for Congress to act."
No, those decisions belong to the people who flock to one internet company or another for reasons that, no one can really predict or understand, but not to Congress. So why would Facebook want Congress to do this?
Because they'll write the regulations.
Correct. And they are the top dogs right now. This is, as far as dealing with competition, this is how you do it. You make it harder for competition to do anything because you wrote the rules. And this is all the way from Facebook all the way down to our level, the local sign ordinance. One of the sign companies here in Keene writing the regulations for the city of Keene to implement their sign ordinance. How bastardized and incestuous is that?
It's the same scam.
It's the same thing. It works at every single level.
Yep, exactly.
That's the first. And that's when we opened this. That was the first thing that I noticed was any industry that comes out and says that I would like more government regulation over me.
Like Coinbase recently did.
Correct, because they're watching their butts, and they're going to be, and like Ian says, they're going to be writing the regulation because
they made it clear they wanted
the politicians
to
aren't because they don't even understand what Bitcoin is.
No, Coinbase made it clear they wanted to create this group of entities like themselves and Kraken, Binance was on there, I think, and some others who ultimately were just going to write crypto regulations.
Now, here's what I want to know about this. You now have this whistleblower saying Congress needs to take action, and Facebook saying, yes, take action, Congress. Everybody's on board. Everybody wants Congress to do something about the internet and all the danger out
I don't want
there.
Congress to do anything about the internet.
No. Well, people that love freedom certainly wouldn't want that. But it makes me wonder, what are the Republicans going to do here? Are they going to, it's a Democrat Congress. Are they going to act like they care about freedom of information? Are they going to, take the side of internet freedom on this? Because a few years ago during the Trump administration, Republicans were saying they wanted government regulation of social media. Remember?
What do you think they're going to do? 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing. To be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You're welcome to join us, talk about whatever is important to you, or talk about what we've been discussing. 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Arya.
It's Ian.
And Conan.
And what we're discussing is Facebook, and it's just general evilness. Now, I still use Facebook. Conan, I think you still use Facebook, but neither of us are the type to just sit there and browse through your feed. The vast majority of my Facebook usage is Facebook Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe once or twice a day, I will go on Facebook and post something, but after that, I'm pretty much done with it. If it's something that I need to respond to, like I requested a favor earlier this evening, I will actually go back and look at that at some point, but I'm not the type to just sit there and scroll through my Facebook feed to see what other people are saying. If I want to know what other people are saying, I'm going to ask them because I care about their opinions and want to know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them shouting them at me over Facebook.
Yeah, I have.
Reach out to your friends.
I have definite rules, time allocation and whatnot, and I have rules on how much I can post.
Oh yeah.
So you post more in a day than I do in 2 weeks.
Really? Because I post like once or twice a day.
That's what I mean.
Okay. So you're like once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it has to be something that is meaningful. Like it's got to be that weird caterpillar that I saw in the garden yesterday.
See, I'll make an exception. If I'm crap posting, then it is more than once or twice a day. But that's a different animal on its own.
Yeah, I haven't been on Facebook. I quit back at the beginning of 2018, so coming up on 4 years now.
Nice, congratulations.
It has been nice. But that's what we're talking about right now is Facebook, and they are in the news because a so-called whistleblower has come out and is alleging that there is a crisis.
The kids, the children.
And that's where she's going next.
The crisis is censorship.
What do you mean?
That Facebook is censoring anyone who says anything that they don't like.
Oh, yeah.
That's the crisis.
Doing it, by the way, at the behest of the government.
Yes, the government is specifically finding posts that it says are problematic and directing Facebook to do something about them.
Yeah. So Facebook is essentially, without
a censorship arm of
without officially being the government, they are essentially doing the duty of the government in censoring people. So they're basically like a government agency, except not really.
And this was admitted by the current White House press secretary.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this woman's come out. She is saying that there needs to be regulation because Facebook is putting people in danger. It's unsafe, she claims, on Facebook because someone could find some information that Facebook hasn't deleted, like information about anorexia. She's referring to teenagers searching recipes and then finding an anorexia group or something like that.
That seems unlikely. Like some 16-year-old... I can't imagine too many 16-year-olds looking up cooking recipes in the first place.
Right?
But to somehow find their way down a rabbit hole until they're seeing an advertisement for anorexia?
Well,
does Facebook even...
group?
I think this particular argument is focused on Instagram. Do you have one of those accounts?
No.
Aria, which I don't. So I don't really know what's going on.
I want permission
there.
to use Instagram, but I just want it because I want my dog to have an Instagram.
They do get to Instagram, but the first part of the story was about just Facebook in general. This next part is about Instagram from CNBC.com. The hearing focused a lot on Facebook's impact on young users because that's always the excuse the police or the government use.
We have to protect the children.
Yeah. Lawmakers expressed outrage at one of the journal's reports that said Facebook's internal research had found, remember, the woman went to the Wall Street Journal before she ended up in Congress, said that Facebook's internal research had found Instagram created a toxic environment for some teenage girls already experiencing negative feelings about their bodies. That prompted even stronger calls from lawmakers for Facebook to end its plans to launch a version of Instagram for kids. Facebook has accused the Wall Street Journal of cherry-picking its data.
They wanted an Instagram for kids?
The Facebook wants one, and
no part of that sounds like a good idea.
The lawmakers are saying, don't do it.
Facebook's attorneys should have said, don't do it.
Now, why?
Because you have no way of verifying that people who are on the site are going to be... that's a way of attracting pedophiles to the platform.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but there are already young people, kids that are on Instagram. So what's the difference?
Fair point. Except, I mean, the pedophiles know exactly where to find the
they know where all the kids are. They don't have to weed through all the adults.
It just sounds like a bad idea to me.
Facebook has accused the Wall Street Journal of cherry-picking its data, emphasizing that research shows a majority of users surveyed in several cases found positive effects of using its products, even when a small percentage felt it made their negative feelings worse. Facebook says that in a survey, 8 out of 10 teenage Instagram users in the United States said the platform made them feel better or had no effect on their feelings about themselves. But
what effect is it supposed to have? Are they supposed to see someone who's very attractive and then feel worse about themselves? Is that what they're describing here?
Some dopamine rush.
But that's not going to help. No, that will help them feel good and feel better.
That's what they said.
But I want to know what is harming them. You know, they're being harmed by this content.
They're seeing beautiful people who make them feel insecure, and then they go cut themselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that probably happens.
They don't need Instagram for that. That's been going on since.
They don't need it, but it's
actually,
right there.
Actually, that's a very good point, Arya. That this is 2021's little girls hate themselves argument.
Mm-hmm.
When Disney's Cinderella came out, how many years ago?
50s. That's the 50s or something.
Oh yeah,
right? 60s.
I'm sure that there were little girls who felt insecure seeing very beautiful cartoon girl up there.
I mean, just look how gorgeous the average actress is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean. We're constantly having just gorgeous, beautiful people thrown at us 24/7 that
no doubt
aren't realistic
at all.
Look, I don't disagree with you guys, and I'm not defending Facebook or I'm not defending the so-called whistleblower here, but it's definitely worse now for a young person because of the obsession that they have with likes, right? So this is a young person's thing. Is they talk. And the reason I know this, Bonnie is younger, and so she hung out recently with some of her old friends from San Antonio. She went down there and visited some old friends for a party, and a lot of them were talking about, I've got to post my picture on Instagram, but wait, don't post it yet. Don't post it yet. I've got to do the edit. There's some editing that they can do on their phones. You can basically do a quick Photoshop and make yourself look skinnier and, fix your eyebrows or whatever. Whoa, don't I gotta do the editing first. Oh, you've got 20 likes already. I've got 30 likes over here. And they're constantly obsessed over the amount of likes that they're getting based on photos that are completely falsified, basically, as far as what they actually look like.
That's just women in general. That's pretty much
everything.
It's not.
All the lipstick and all of the fancy clothes, the heels.
It used to be
push-up
all that.
bras.
It used to be all that. When
it's
we were
still that. All I'm saying is it's still that.
But now they're competing for digital gold, basically.
Digital
likes.
validation.
Okay, and 20 years ago they were dealing with physical validation.
But now, instead of seeing a handful of girls at school, now they see every other teenager that is, within their purview on this app, and it's worse, Conan.
I'm not buying it. You're always going to have people who hate themselves because they're not pretty.
I agree with you there. This is making it more obvious to them because there's so many more beautiful people.
I think the internet. I think the internet has opened our eyes to a lot of what has always been going on.
But they're fake.
It's all fake.
But it's always been fake.
This is why when I'm on dating apps, I immediately swipe no on anyone who has these obvious filters on there. So I was like, no, I want to know what you actually look like.
That and a banner of I got stabbed, or I got my COVID stab.
I don't even notice those. I mean, if they want to be vaccinated, I don't care. I'm not going to. If she's hot and she's not using filters, I'll still date
If
her.
she had a banner around her, if she had a banner,
that'd be too much.
Okay, so no mask.
That means she went out of her way. Because that would mean she went out of her way to take a profile picture while she was wearing a mask. That's a big no for me.
Yeah, but these banner things, you can just click a button, you get a I got stabbed today banner.
Yeah, but that's better than posing for a picture wearing a mask just to virtue signal to people that you wear a mask.
That'd be a no-go for me.
But look,
it's horrible. Ian, it's horrible.
It's worse now.
No, I'm arguing no, it's not. I'm arguing it's the same. We just see it more. The internet has allowed us to see more of it.
Yes, and that makes it. That's what makes it worse.
And this week, that's the argument of the day. This is how we get. This is how we get government to regulate social media.
And that's what they're going to do. And that's what they're working on doing. And obviously, we're against that. I'm not saying that this is a reason why government should do anything like that, but it is worse. If you were a teenage girl and you were concerned about being the prettiest girl in the class when you're growing up, you were only competing with so many girls. Well, now you literally are competing on the internet with every other girl out there for the attention of all the people liking photos and commenting and all that, because they think that means something. It doesn't mean diddly, but they think that it does.
By the way, does Bonnie do any of this nonsense that she was telling? She's on her phone a whole lot.
She is on her phone a lot, yeah.
I think she does do Instagram, but I don't think she's like
She's
that.
not obsessed with that.
I know a kid though who's on TikTok, and he does count his TikTok followers and all his likes and stuff. I'm like, dude, why do you care? But it's all about that dopamine rush and being validated by strangers on the internet. I can't imagine anything worse than feeling like I need to be validated by people. 603-283-6160.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correa, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen has offered a blistering critique of her former employer during congressional testimony in Washington. She told U.S. lawmakers Facebook has misled the public and that it is putting its profits before people. FSN's Rachel Silverman has more.
Whistleblower Frances Haugen told the lawmakers that Facebook intentionally targets teens and children under the age of 13. She spoke at a Senate hearing entitled Protecting Kids Online, meant primarily to look at Facebook's own research into what effects its photo app Instagram has on the mental health of younger users. Haugen argued Facebook needs more regulation, and she says the company lacks the staffing, expertise, and transparency needed to make meaningful change. Facebook says Haugen worked for the company for less than 2 years and never on the subject matter she has spoken out about.
Victims are demanding the French Catholic Church pay for its crimes after a newly released report says an estimated 216,000 children were subject to abuse by clergy. In a statement, the Vatican says Pope Francis felt pain on hearing the findings of the investigation, which looked at abuse going back to the 1950s. The United Nations World Meteorological Organization is urging the international community to wake up to a looming water crisis. A new report warns that climate change and population growth will lead to greater water stress in the coming years. William Denzelo reports from UN headquarters in New York.
A collaboration between the WMO, scientific institutions and development agencies, the State of Climate Services report warns that more than 5 billion people could have inadequate water access by 2050. The report finds that 107 nations are set to miss targets to sustainably manage water resources by the year 2030. The UN's weather agency is calling for the international community to boost financing and improve coordination for emergency warning systems.
U.S. drug maker Johnson & Johnson has requested authorization for a booster dose of its COVID-19 vaccine. Here's Nick Harper from Washington.
Johnson & Johnson has asked the Food and Drug Administration for emergency use authorization for a booster of its single-shot vaccine. J&J says its data shows people aged 18 and older should receive the extra dose at least 6 months after their initial vaccination. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca's drug, called AZD7442, could be an alternative to COVID-19 vaccines and separate from its current coronavirus vaccine. It's an antibody combination that could be used by those with chronic diseases that cause vaccines to be less effective.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, taking a closer look today at tensions between China and Taiwan. They are rising, with the Chinese Air Force conducting a growing number of flights that pierce Taiwan's defense zone and incur the anger of, among others, the US government. The Biden administration warned over the weekend that China's actions are destabilizing and provocative. So why is China acting now? Dylan Lowe is a Singapore-based analyst of cross-straits relations.
There are several important dates coming up. China with its own National Day and Taiwan with its own National Day. 2022 will also be the 20th Congress where Xi Jinping may look to further his grip on power and extend his position. I think there is a need or a greater desire or motivation for Beijing to reassert control or give the appearance that they are not letting Taiwan have any sort of freedom or breathing space. Also to remind the Taiwanese not to say or make any gestures that may be deemed as provocative.
Some US-based analysts wonder whether China isn't also partly testing the will of the Biden administration. Just weeks after the botched US military pullout from Afghanistan raised questions for US allies in other parts of the world. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the top news again. Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen has offered a blistering critique of her former employer during congressional testimony in Washington. Victims are demanding the French Catholic Church pay for its crimes after a newly released report says an estimated 216,000 children were subject to abuse by clergy. And the UN is urging the international community to wake up to a looming water crisis. And that's the latest from Feature Story News. Rebecca Foster reporting.
I mean, it's just so hard to believe that it's really all gone.
It was in this living room 3 weeks ago that the Talbot family discovered their DVR had suddenly and inexplicably crashed, deleting more than 5 years' worth of recorded live events and miniseries.
I keep having flashbacks to that day, to that moment when I realized everything was gone.
You know, you hear stories about people who mismanage their device settings, but you never really think it could happen to you. Honestly, it feels like some sort of a dream. Like, when I wake up, I'll be able to just go downstairs, turn on the TV, and all the episodes will be there again, as if nothing had ever happened.
Friends and family of the Talbots have pledged their support, organizing DVD donations and offering passwords to online streaming services while the family struggles to move on.
We know that we'll never be able to replace all the hours of programming that we had, but I think in the end we'll be just fine. As long as we have our 5 seasons of Seinfeld on DVD.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. As always, you're invited to join us. 603-283-6160. That's the call line if you want to do that. 603-283-6160. With you tonight is Arya, Conan, and Ian. And we're big fans of cryptocurrency here on the show. And a number of months ago, I don't exactly remember how long, it could have been a year ago for all I remember, we talked about cryptocurrency addiction. This was definitely prior to the raid because I remember parts of the conversation.
I didn't hear this one.
And, well, it's the tendency of people to just constantly check the cryptocurrency values to see whether they're up or whether they're down, to just look at it too many times throughout the day. Addicted to the dopamine hit of seeing that,
Yeah, but it's going down too. So I mean, it's not like Facebook dopamine where it's or even
no, it's more like gambling dopamine. Right?
But I can.
But when it does go up, the fact that it went down makes it hit all the better.
So
right?
there's people out there that have admitted to this and they admit that it's a problem and they need help.
Well, I don't know to what extent it's actually like disruptive to their lives.
Who's reporting on this first? I want to know who's reporting on this first. Is it?
Well, no, this was something we talked about probably 9 months ago.
Well, some people, I mean, it definitely distorts their lives. Some people will stay up later than they otherwise might because they're obsessed with some new crypto that's coming out, right, or they're researching a thing or whatever. Although, to some extent, it's been worthwhile for some people. I remember Roger Ver was being interviewed. For those that don't know Roger, he's the former or current sponsor of the show, longtime sponsor, on behalf of Bitcoin.com.
I mean, people call him Bitcoin Jesus.
Yeah, and I remember he was talking about, in an interview he did, about kind of how he got started into cryptocurrency. And it was listening to Free Talk Live, listening to us talking about Bitcoin with one of our callers. It took him to the second time that Bitcoin came up on the show to start taking it real seriously. And then he said he spent like days researching cryptocurrency, because there wasn't crypto back then. It was just Bitcoin. There was nothing else. He spent days and didn't sleep researching this stuff, and ultimately decided to make the purchase of, some number of, I don't know how many thousands of Bitcoins.
Well, that's short term, being interested in a project, so learning about it. I wouldn't really call that an addiction. That's just like a temporary obsession.
I would say it could be a work addiction where he's, wanting to get to the bottom of things and make money and to control his life.
I was just giving you an example of somebody who declined one of the most important things, which is to get good sleep every night. He declined that for days while he was obsessed with this. Some people continue their obsession because now you've got literally thousands of cryptocurrencies out there. It isn't like you just have one thing to learn about. You can spend your entire life learning about different cryptocurrencies and trying to figure out which one to buy and which one to hold and sell or whatever. I mean,
I sort of attempted this a few years ago with something called Cryptocurrency Check. I wasn't trying to find out, what people should invest in or what people should buy or whatever. I was just trying to, eliminate these scam coins and tell people not to buy them.
Yeah.
But I realized within like a week of doing this that creating one cryptocurrency breakdown per day was not keeping up with the flow of new cryptocurrencies.
It's impossible.
Yeah, and it would have taken me a staff of like 30, 40 people to adequately research all of the new cryptocurrencies and all of the ERC20 tokens, and it just would not have been possible.
And that was what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, but I mean,
it's even worse.
It's kind of died down a little since then. I mean, back then you had things like Orange Coin and Pot Coin and Hemp Coin and Ketta Coin. It was garbage in 2018.
There's still plenty of garbage out there.
But it was so bad then. I was sure that we were looking at cryptocurrency repeating the video game crash of 1983, which was what there was such a flood of garbage on the market that everyone just pulled out of the market entirely. I thought that's what cryptocurrency was heading toward. The worst example was Bitcoin Silver that I found. It was an ERC20 token that continually reset its you have X days and X hours remaining thing so that it never actually went down. And sure enough, to this day, there's still people, they didn't even have the Twitter handle for Bitcoin Silver. They were like at Bitcoin Silver 1 or something.
Oh, wow.
So it was just a botched, shady operation from the start. And you can go to find them on Twitter now and just see all of the people saying, hey, I never got my Bitcoin Silver. Well, of course you didn't. They took your Ethereum and ran. Why didn't you at least go to the website twice to make sure that the ticker is actually counting down?
By the way, speaking of collapse, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Man Poor Dad. Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad author.
Mm-hmm.
He says this month is the economic collapse that we've all been waiting for.
Man, I sure hope so.
By the way, you said you were doing the crypto assessment thing in 2018?
It may have been 2017.
I just looked at
It was before I moved here.
Okay, I just looked at looks like February of 2018. Just randomly picked it on the Internet Archive at archive.org.
Bitcoin was 5,000.
At this time, actually, Bitcoin was 10,000. Apparently, yeah. This was right after the peak.
Right
after it hit that peak. CoinMarketCap at that time, 1,530 cryptocurrencies.
Good God!
What's it now?
12,352.
I told you.
Are they still tracking dead coins like Orange Coin and things like that?
No, CoinMarketCap has a certain requirement. So there's thousands more that are not listed on CoinMarketCap.
Oh, God. So, yeah, it's gotten significantly worse.
Yeah, there's a ton of these things out there. Now, of course, it's including tokens with this number. And for listeners that don't know the difference, a cryptocurrency is its own separate a entity, whereas a token sort of exists on an existing blockchain like Ethereum, for instance, and without getting too deep into.
All right, so Arya, I have a crypto addiction. I stay home when I should be out, going to the clubs and meeting people, meeting women.
Well, see, that's not actually the type of.
And I just monitor these tickers and just see where my crypto is at currently, and thinking about the next crypto I want to invest in. Which, by the way, I'm an investor. I hardly ever spend crypto these days.
I don't think that's the type of addiction this article is talking about.
So all right. So
I was just mentioning that because that was we covered Bitcoin cryptocurrency addiction a long time ago.
Right. So your article can't help me.
No, it can help you if you're one of the people who have lost millions, because this is the world's first Bitcoin rehab clinic where traders who have lost millions battle cryptocurrency addiction. So maybe they are still regularly checking it. It's Castle Craig. It's a private hospital in Peeblesshire near Edinburgh. It has seen admissions for Bitcoin addicts increase by a factor of 10 in the last year. The clinic is overseen by therapist Tony Marini, who claims to be the first physician to recognize that crypto trading is very similar to gambling. Well, it can be if they're making speculative bets on various cryptocurrencies.
Correct.
Well, isn't that all crypto trading is?
Maybe.
Isn't it all speculative bets?
I didn't get into cryptocurrency as for speculative reasons. I got into it because I believed in it.
But they're talking about traders. Traders are people who spend their day watching markets, trying to figure out what's going to happen, and trying to bet on it to make money.
Fair point.
That is a crazy business, and I would want nothing to do with it.
Not in the cryptocurrency space. Too much happens too quickly.
Or even the stock market. Or even scratch tickets.
He says that most addicts start by occasionally trading before frequent wins feed dopamine cravings and dreams of earning millions. However, such habit-forming behavior where users can lose large sums of money can lead to disaster and even suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Tony said, if you say to somebody doing crypto, so you're occasionally gambling, they're going to say, no, I'm not. So take out the word.
Research.
Right. That's what they'll all say. But traders of stocks will say the same thing. So take out the word gambling and say occasionally trading.
Yeah, and I've always said that stock trading is gambling, and I remember arguing with Mark about that early on.
It's absolutely gambling.
Yeah, I remember doing this long before crypto. We had arguments about this on the air, and to me, it's totally gambling. Yeah, you can research it, but you still don't know what's going to happen to the company.
I mean, you can research the Patriots as well and the Buccaneers, and you're still gambling when you place a bet on which one is going to come out ahead.
Absolutely.
You know what? When you get in your car and drive to the grocery store, there's no guarantee you're going to get there.
That's right.
You're gambling.
Yeah,
risk.
but it's a safe gamble when you're just driving to the grocery store.
Okay,
I
whatever.
wouldn't say that's safe at all.
Really?
You never know when some lunatic's going to, cross over the median and run head on into you. You have no idea.
It happens. Or you could get COVID.
Seems to be very rare, though.
Well,
At least
rare.
I'm not going to factor it into my life as I go about it.
You're more likely to have that happen to you than dying of COVID, though.
Yeah, probably.
Lots more.
So we're going to talk more about Bitcoin addiction. Evidently, one of these guys stole more than £1 million from his employers in order to fuel his gambling habit. 603-283-6160. Or maybe all of this is made up and it's just people have addictions and that's really all there is to it. What are your thoughts? 603-283-6160.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
When commercials come on, don't push the button. Instead, listen. Even if you don't sell things for a living, you're still selling in the various conversations and transactions that make up your busy day. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're a job seeker. So take a lesson from Madison Avenue. Often the fewer words, the more effective the message. Like Jiffy Lube, where you never need an appointment, or the Office Max ad that says, you supply the ambition, we supply everything else. How about online ticket broker StubHub.com, the way in when it's sold out, or CyberCupidMatch.com's seductive, go ahead, it's okay to look. How cleverly and succinctly can you distill your message? For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Speaking of cancel culture, actually, I don't think we actually mentioned cancel culture tonight, but we've been canceled by our credit card processor. For years, we've been running the AMP program. You can find out more about it at amp.freetalklive.com. But if you're trying to sign up, it's not going to work. If you're using a debit card, PayPal still works. And, of course, the cryptocurrency options are still there. So I want to say thank you, though, to Emo Stackler, who is tonight's amplifier, a gold level amplifier, which means that Emo is contributing $10 per month to the AMP program. We don't ask that. It only takes $5 per month to join. That gets you in.
Is it ammo or Arno?
Ammo, like AMMO?
I don't know. It's
because that's interesting. He's an ammo stackler.
The font here is not very friendly, so that did not help at all, did it? Let's see.
I could be wrong. It is funny if it's apparently.
I put in ammo, so okay. I could have entered it incorrectly.
I think it might have been.
Yes, because I was looking at it on my phone earlier when I was copying it over. So that's Arno?
I think so.
Okay, well, let's go with Arno because that makes more sense. So anyway, amp.freetalklive.com stands for advertise, market, and promote because that's what the money's used for. If you like Free Talk Live, if you like hearing us try to figure out what the hell I wrote down earlier, then you might consider joining the AMP program. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
Quality programming.
With you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Ian.
And Conan.
And for whatever reason, now it won't let me change the size of all of these letters. It's wonderful.
That's all right.
I love Google Sheets
so
much. Yeah, it's not important. So we're talking about Bitcoin addiction. And this guy, let me get back to it. He was trading in cryptocurrencies while working in finance.
Crypto investing or
trading addiction.
Crypto trading addiction.
Yes.
So, yes. Not just Bitcoin. There's a lot of, as we just discussed, there's a lot of them out there right now.
Thousands. And thousands.
And this addiction led to the man stealing more than 1 billion pounds from his employers. The therapist says Bitcoin addicts are often addicted to drugs and booze. He said, commonly, people start because they want to buy stuff off the dark web. And the only way to do that is with cryptocurrency.
By the way, so are stock traders.
Typically addicted to drugs and alcohol?
Correct. They especially Coke.
That makes sense. The biggest problem is this cross-addiction with crypto starting through drugs and alcohol. No, it's the problem is that you have people who are already trying to fill some hole in their life with drugs and alcohol who find another way to fill a hole in their life with cryptocurrency.
Right, and that's any addiction, by the way. It doesn't...
Yeah.
It's filling a void. It's filling a hole in...
Since 2017, Tony has treated 15 people who have been addicted to crypto. He says that often people are referred to the clinic for drugs or alcohol, but their treatment often uncovers other behavioral obsessions, and foremost among these is crypto addiction. I kind of like this guy. He's seeing people for drug and alcohol addictions, and he's looking for underlying causes, underlying issues that they may have, and he's inadvertently finding that they're also addicted to cryptocurrency trading. Tony says that around 9 of his current patients being treated at the 18th Century Country House are addicted to online trading, usually aged between 20 and 45, and have a bit of spare cash.
So, wait. So does this guy specialize in crypto addiction, or he's just or addicts in general?
I think it's addicts in general.
So 8 of the 9 are crypto addicts all of a sudden?
It seems that way.
Huh.
From 2017 to 2019, Tony claims that Castle Craig was the only facility in the world which was treating cryptocurrency addiction. So it sounds like he was the one who noticed it, and maybe that caused more people with the issue to go to him. I don't know. But it certainly sounds like he's more of an addiction specialist who just noticed cryptocurrency addiction as well.
Well, I wonder if there are some other addictions that aren't being mentioned, like, I don't know, beating people up, or I don't know. What kind of addictions are out there except sex and...
sex, drugs, cryptocurrency, apparently.
So gambling.
Facebook, our social media.
Video games.
Video games, that's a good one.
Well, and Facebook is that dopamine hit, right?
Yeah.
Right,
so that's
correct.
What's behind that one.
Just smartphones in general.
So I'm wondering how many of these individuals also have a social media addiction.
Oh, I'm sure most of them, if not all of them.
So let's just, I don't know. This sounds like this article is just unique in that the guy discovered a new addiction that he probably wasn't aware of until this year.
And maybe the crypto people can pay better, too, because
there you go.
If they haven't lost it all, they probably still have some money they can pay their bills with, whereas if you're like a doper or something like that, you probably don't have any money.
True.
Exactly. Yeah. This guy's hit pay dirt.
And evidently these people did lose millions, but it does sound like they didn't lose at all because users travel from users. I like how it says that users. Your cryptocurrency user. Travel from the likes of the United States, Dubai, Malta, and the Netherlands to get treatment at the clinic. So they have enough money to travel there from the United States.
Right.
Tony says that too many stories about Bitcoin are about people who have made fortunes.
And he keeps going back to Bitcoin.
Well,
it's not. There's lots of crypto out there.
Yeah,
Bitcoin's like the Kleenex of cryptocurrency, though. You use the term Bitcoin interchangeable with, it's like when somebody goes and they order a Pepsi in the South or whatever they mean, or a Coke. They could mean anything. Like
sure. Or like you Xerox something, it just means to copy it, but Xerox is just a brand.
It's become a verb.
The reason I keep prodding this is because it's feeling more and more like a hit piece.
It's not at all a hit piece from what I can gather, though. I mean, it's just a guy talking about something that he thinks he's discovered.
A hit piece against Bitcoin.
It could be. I mean,
they're always these people. These big wigs are always trying to, especially the bankers, are always trying to weasel in to demonize Bitcoin any way they can because it's doing really well. What is it up to 51,000 a day?
I've got a story about a banker demonizing Bitcoin. If you want to hear that one, old J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon's back at it.
Oh, I do want to hear it. I thought he changed his tune.
No.
But J.P. Morgan
changed their tune.
Okay. But he's what?
The CEO still anti-Bitcoin.
But the company itself changed its tune.
Correct.
I don't understand how that works.
Well, because, he may be the CEO, but he doesn't get to control everything, right?
Okay.
The CEO just does what the board of directors tell them to do.
Okay, gotcha. So the board of directors forced him or manipulated him, whatever the terminology would be, into
coerced.
I didn't want to use that word because he could just quit and not be the CEO anymore.
Or get fired if he doesn't listen to him.
Into buying cryptocurrency, even though he's personally against it, and he's back at it now, railing against it.
He's out against railing against Bitcoin again. Yep.
I can't wait to hear what he has to say. There's nothing left to this, so let's go ahead and get into that.
This story's coming from news.bitcoin.com, published just 22 hours ago. Kevin Helms writing, J.P. Morgan Chase chairman and CEO Jamie Dimon continued to express his anti-Bitcoin and crypto stance in an interview with Axios on HBO, published on Monday. Dimon was asked whether Bitcoin is, quote, the fool's gold of the future. And the J.P. Morgan boss replied saying, quote, it's got no intrinsic value, and regulators are going to regulate the hell out of it.
Huh. Well, that's what they're trying to do.
The dollar has no intrinsic value either. I mean, and technically, gold doesn't either. Humans just sort of valued it.
And amazingly, there's a report published by the Federal Reserve that actually admits this. They get to the quote from that amazingly in just a moment. While admitting that cryptocurrency will be around long term, Dimon said, quote, I've always believed it'll be made illegal someplace, like China made it illegal, so I think it's a little bit of fool's gold, unquote.
If you have an authoritarian, totalitarian regime like they do in China, but here in the United States, ours is not quite that bad yet.
I got more.
And just because a government outlawed it doesn't mean there's no value to it.
It also means they're not using it in China.
Yeah, we should talk about the intrinsic value of Bitcoin because he's wrong about that.
I mean, it also doesn't mean they're not using it in China. But what are your thoughts? Does Bitcoin have any intrinsic value? Is it modern day fool's gold? 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen has offered a blistering critique of her former employer during congressional testimony in Washington. She told U.S. lawmakers Facebook has misled the public and that it is putting its profits before people. FSN's Rachel Silverman has more.
Whistleblower Frances Haugen told the lawmakers that Facebook intentionally targets teens and children under the age of 13. She spoke at a Senate hearing entitled Protecting Kids Online, meant primarily to look at Facebook's own research into what effects its photo app Instagram has on the mental health of younger users. Haugen argued Facebook needs more regulation, and she says the company lacks the staffing, expertise, and transparency needed to make meaningful change. Facebook says Haugen worked for the company for less than 2 years and never on the subject matter she has spoken out about. Rachel Silverman, Oakland.
Victims are demanding the French Catholic Church pay for its crimes after a newly released report says an estimated 216,000 children were subject to abuse by clergy. In a statement, the Vatican says Pope Francis felt pain on hearing the findings of the investigation, which looked at abuse going back to the 1950s. The United Nations World Meteorological Organization is urging the international community to wake up to a looming water crisis. A new report warns that climate change and population growth will lead to greater water stress in the coming years. William Denzelo reports from UN headquarters in New York.
A collaboration between the WMO, scientific institutions and development agencies, the State of Climate Services report warns that more than 5 billion people could have inadequate water access by 2050. The report finds that 107 nations are set to miss targets to sustainably manage water resources by the year 2030. The UN's weather agency is calling for the international community to boost financing and improve coordination for emergency warning systems. William Denzelo, New York.
U.S. drug maker Johnson & Johnson has requested authorization for a booster dose of its COVID-19 vaccine. Here's Nick Harper from Washington.
Johnson & Johnson has asked the Food and Drug Administration for emergency use authorization for a booster of its single-shot vaccine. J&J says its data shows people aged 18 and older should receive the extra dose at least 6 months after their initial vaccination. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca's drug, called AZD7442, could be an alternative to COVID-19 vaccines and separate from its current coronavirus vaccine. It's an antibody combination that could be used by those with chronic diseases that cause vaccines to be less effective.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and I hope you weren't planning to go to Switzerland for Liberty in Our Lifetime. It is, in fact, sold out, but you can still get digital tickets for the October 16th event. You can learn all about seasteading, Crypto Valley, Prospera, and so many other projects that are taking place around the world to help achieve Liberty in Our Lifetime. The website for that is lifetimeliberty.com. You can still get digital tickets there. They're pretty cheap. It's like $50. So if you still want to attend the event, but you weren't fast enough to get an actual physical ticket, lifetimeliberty.com. Head there, get your virtual ticket. It's significantly easier to watch it virtually as well. Not everyone has time to just... It's Sweden, not Switzerland. Not everyone has time to just take off to Sweden in the middle of October. So
plus, it's Europe, so you have to have a vaccination, don't you, to even get in?
Is it Sweden open right now?
I don't know the answer to any of those questions. And you don't need to know the answer to those questions either if you get a virtual ticket at lifetimeliberty.com.
Seasteading. Have you guys looked into that? Have you heard?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've interviewed them.
It's nutty.
Well, I mean, it's
never going to happen. I mean, you're as likely to go live on the moon.
I would say they're dreamers.
I mean, you got to have dreamers out there in the world to try crazy, nutty ideas, Conan. I mean, when you say it's never going to happen, what do you mean?
I mean, there is just too much land available.
But there's more water available.
If you could get one rich guy, if you get Gates to do anything, he could buy whole cities and he could start utopias. if you really,
I
really,
wouldn't
really
want to live
wanted to,
anywhere
He
where
could
Bill
start
Gates.
dystopias.
Yeah,
Well,
Bill
that's-
Gates
that's-
is crazy.
Well, that's what it would be. It would be his utopia, but it wouldn't turn out well.
We would not want to live in a place like that.
Yeah, but rich people could do these things.
But the idea behind the seasteading
Hey,
thing,
the whole BioShock game is based basically on a rich dude who wanted to start a underwater
all right,
utopia.
let's get away from the games for now and talk about what's actually happened. Seasteading, couple, I don't know, 2019, 2018, they actually had their first seastead start off the coast of, I believe it was Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
And the Thai government came and raided the seastead. So it was there, and they did successfully
was this
build
just
it.
shanties floating on pylons out in the
The
middle?
technology they're using is surprisingly complicated. Like they have some sort of centralizing thing that sinks, like I think it was 50 feet below the surface of the ocean
To
in
keep
order
it
to
steady.
stabilize it.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like they've done a lot of research, put a lot of money into this. I think it was like Peter Thiel or somebody has thrown some money into this, or one of these rich kind of libertarian guys is involved with the Seasteading Institute. And unfortunately, even though they were in so-called international waters, the Thai government decided it was a threat to their sovereignty. And they came in looking for the people who, it was only a couple. It was a very small, just a small little seastead. And the couple just happened to be in the country of Thailand doing some shopping at the time. They saw like a news report about the raid on their seastead, and they were like, well, I guess we can't go back there.
Right.
And they managed to escape from the country because they were wanted, by the Thai police for being a threat to the national sovereignty. It was what they were being accused
a couple.
of. Yeah.
By floating on a ship.
Yeah, the fact that they had a platform, it's basically a platform with like a hut on it, essentially.
Yeah.
That was the threat to their sovereignty. So yeah, it didn't work, Conan, but they did actually successfully do it.
And they're still trying it.
For how long?
They built the thing.
I would suggest you go to lifetimeliberty.com.
What do the tickets cost?
$50.
It's not bad.
You can find out all about it.
Right here in our own state, live free or die state, there's the story of some guy named River Dan.
Yeah, River Dave.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
Kind of a hermit living right on the side of the river, and it was someone else's property, and he wouldn't leave, and they arrested him. And while he was in jail, his house burned down.
Totally convenient how that happened.
How do you like how that works?
Yeah, we covered that story
But yeah,
here.
if you're in small numbers like this couple or just one guy, River Dan, these things never work.
No, I agree with you, Conan. I think some of the seasteaders want to have a larger community somewhere.
Yeah,
They're just trying to
they've
find the right
designed these
place.
sorts of platforms that will fit together at spur of the moment notice.
you can move.
Just sort of spontaneously create a city, and then you go, oh, I don't want to be part of this city anymore, so you fracture it off and go to your own other city.
Look, hey, I'm a skeptic too, Conan, but I wish him the best. I want it to work
The idea is neat.
Yeah.
It's really, really neat. But I mean, how do you live? What do you do? How do you
Fish,
survive?
I guess. I don't know.
You can't live off of just fish.
Well, that's why they went into Thailand to buy stuff.
Right. Exactly. So if you can't stay on the boat all day long,
If you have one of these large enough, you could have one of these floating platforms that is dedicated just to growing stuff.
Yeah, you could have a city or whatever. It is a possibility. I wouldn't say it's in the realm of the impossible. They've proven that it's possible. They just have to find the right political designation that's not going to send the army in with torches,
right.
To try to burn you out. So I do wish them the best. It's a newer idea. It's one that isn't time tested or proven, like the Free State Project, like the migration of Liberty Lovers to New Hampshire.
I'm all behind the Free State Project. That makes sense to me.
Right. Well, that's because it's proven. It's a proven project that has success. We've got Free Staters elected to state representative positions. We're having tremendous success. The budget got cut this year for the first time in forever. We're going to have to turn that off. But they just put the tax cuts into effect, by the way. They got rid of this one tax entirely. I forget what it's called. I can pull it up here in a bit.
By the way, did they accept that $27 million or whatever COVID relief funds?
No, that meeting got canceled due to activists.
So we still don't know. So that money is still floating.
Waiting. We're still waiting on that.
Don't
They've
take
rescheduled.
it. Strings attached. Yeah. Every Fed bill, every Fed check is strings attached, people.
They lowered the rooms and meals tax. They cut the property tax. They cut the business tax. They did an overall spending cut of 3.3%. And they eliminated, apparently, something called the interest and dividends tax. That's just gone.
Good.
That's all this year.
And my property went up just now, last week.
Yeah, they're screwing us regardless.
The whole region. It's not just Keene. They did a reassessment. a property.
I think they do that
reassessment.
every 10 years.
Every
right?
5 years. Well, I thought it was
5?
every 10 years. The notice that came out said every 5 years. I don't know if I believe that.
So, yeah, I mean, I wish the Seasteaders the best and all the other projects the best, but the fact is the Free State Project has a 15-year head start.
Yep.
There's thousands of people who already made the move here, and more are coming. I mean, every day I'm seeing posts
We just
online.
talked with someone earlier tonight
Yeah.
who wants to move to New Hampshire, and absolutely, in the Facebook group for the Free State Project, there's constantly people saying, hey, we're
Yep.
moving to New Hampshire this year.
Oh, yeah, it's picking up for sure.
And I can't say that I blame them. I mean, better late than never.
Well, I would say, I was just telling Ian, when I first moved here 9 years ago, there were close to 500 properties in Keene available. Just Keene, not the surrounding towns. Guess what it's at now, Aria?
I heard this conversation.
25 properties are available in Keene right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they're
That's
not
25 properties for sale.
for sale, listed on Zillow. Now, you could always look for, for sale by owner options, but I don't even think those are all out there. But and prices are not cheap right now.
But
and,
they may not
there's
ever
only
get
25, so
this is yes. I mean, if you're gonna, it's a good year to sell. So I mean, if you're leaving an area, you might be able to make sell your home for a song.
if you're leaving an area like New Hampshire, maybe. But if you're leaving an area like New York City,
maybe not. Probably not.
Because I imagine more people, in light of all of these crackdowns, are wanting to get to New Hampshire than are wanting to get to New York City, where it's worse.
Well, you got to love what the Free State Project posted on their Twitter account today. Earlier this morning, at Free State NH posts a screenshot of somebody else's tweet. This person is Mars at Asaram323 saying, quote, "Exactly why I stay 2 hours out of New Hampshire recently. The fear of COVID, the white men openly carrying weapons, the disrespect for women's rights, the assault on healthcare workers, teachers, officials, etc. Thanks at NHGOP and Chris Sununu. I no longer feel safe in my home state." So they moved out.
Good.
Well done, Free State Project.
Yeah. That's what I want to hear more of.
Yeah, exactly. And then we will hear
so
more
he's
of
2
that.
hours away, so he's probably in like Boston now.
Yeah, wherever.
Yeah.
Who cares where he went to? He's not here, or she, or whoever it is not here anymore. And as I said, this isn't the first person who has left New Hampshire out of fear.
No, good riddance.
And they won't be the last. And the more people we can move here who love freedom, the more uncomfortable life will become for people like this. And
I got to
they'll
tell
leave.
you, out of all of the things I'm worried about New Hampshire, the white dudes carrying guns is not anywhere on the list. 603-283-6160 if you want to join us. We're going to talk about Bitcoin some more. Apparently the Fed has published a surprising paper about it. 603-283-6160.
Free Talk Live.
I have a license. That means you're protected. That's nonsense. Just because somebody has a license doesn't mean anything about their business acumen. It doesn't mean anything about their ability to satisfy their customers.
It essentially means that they paid the state money.
And
that's
jumped through the hoops. Yep.
And filled out some paperwork.
Exactly. And that's all that the license means. But yet it has this aura of legitimacy to it. Oh, it's a license. And they paid some money to the state, and so therefore they must be a good company. It's absurd.
And absolutely. And what it does is it depletes the pool of people out there that would be doing business in that particular way. That just can't get up the money to get the license. They can't get up the money to get the fancy vans and all that other stuff that's involved in being a contractor or whatever. I'm thinking of plumbers right now, I guess. And different plumbing jobs require different levels of skill. When you're talking about just a regular thing, why can't you have a handyman guy come in and do it? Why does he have to be licensed?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. With you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Ian.
And Conan.
And we've been talking about Bitcoin. And Ian, you read during one of the commercial breaks something that the Federal Reserve of Chicago had published on their website. Now, the Federal Reserve of Chicago, St. Louis, did not actually write the paper, but some economists wrote it, evidently.
Yeah.
And
apparently at the behest of the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, they felt it.
Published
okay,
it.
Yeah, exactly. They felt that it was important enough, and it was that the paper in general, that they would post it on their webpage.
And we dug into this because Jamie Dimon is out there running his mouth again, as he tends to do.
The CEO of JP Morgan.
Yes. And you evidently found a shocking statement within the article that you're reading that calls you to look into it and verify it. And it's pretty amazing what they actually said.
Yeah. This statement is, and this is a report published by the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. This was actually back in 2018 was when they published this, but it's still worth sharing. They were talking about Bitcoin. The whole paper, it's like a 16-page paper just going over the basics of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies.
You said they published this in 2018?
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's what the paper's about, but they do say that Bitcoin has no intrinsic value, and then they follow that statement up by saying state monopoly currencies such as the US dollar, the euro, and the Swiss franc have no intrinsic value either. So they say this
it's
in
true.
The Federal Reserve Bank paper here.
It's true, but you wouldn't expect the Federal Reserve to add that second part.
Yeah,
it's true that Bitcoin has no intrinsic value.
Yeah, it kind of messes up their narrative.
But that's the part I gotta disagree with. It does have value. And the reason, and I mean...
But does it have intrinsic value?
And I'm going to say it does, because what Bitcoin...
As long as it's backed by, as long as the guns that back it remain in place.
There's no guns backing Bitcoin.
No. I'm talking about fiat.
No, I'm not talking about fiat. There's no intrinsic value in fiat.
Correct. And the Fed just admitted it. These economists...
Right. I'm saying there is intrinsic value in Bitcoin.
Okay.
And is it the philosophical aspect of it?
True value.
No, it's the network. The value of the network, the ability to transact value from one person to another with no middleman standing in the way, charging you some sort of, fee or telling you can't do it. The ability to transact peer-to-peer over long distances or short distances.
As long as you're not using an exchange like Coinbase to do it for you.
Correct. Is value. The network of thousands of nodes is value. The miners with millions, if not billions of dollars with equipment, making sure this thing runs reliably. There's incredible value there, and that's why the market is valuing Bitcoin higher than any other cryptocurrency at this time. And we have our critiques of Bitcoin for sure. Like, it still costs a little bit more than I would like it to cost to send to transact value over this particular network. But no one can deny that it is incredibly reliable. You want to send Bitcoin to someone, all you need is their Bitcoin address and the Bitcoin in your wallet, and you can send it, and there's no one who can say that you can't. That network, the ability to do that, incredibly valuable.
I started out disagreeing with you, but I think I have to agree.
Yeah.
That is inherent value in what Bitcoin is.
Yeah, and fiat cannot do that. Fiat is completely controlled by the state and the banks, the Federal Reserve Bank or whatever central, whichever fiat you're talking about, whichever central bank we're talking about, totally controlled. You have to ask permission, and they can tell you no. They can freeze your funds at any time that they want to. They can confiscate your funds at any time that they want to, and they can print out as many as they want to. Bitcoin is a predictable printing rate. There is an inflation of Bitcoin, but it is ultimately, some would argue, deflationary because people lose their Bitcoins all the time, and they get lost.
Plus, the increasing demand for Bitcoin wildly outstrips the inflation rate.
Yeah, that's true.
Gold. How regulated is it these days? 2021. How much hand in the actual transfer from one person to the next is there?
Like gold backs?
You mean by government?
Yeah, if any at all.
None that I'm aware of in the United States per se, but I'm not sure. I mean, I can't. This isn't legal advice, but I've not heard of somebody selling goldbacks getting arrested and having the feds raid their home.
So you don't need like a license or something to be like an official selling a certain amount of gold per year or
different
day.
States may have different regulations on that, Conan. I don't want to give
because where I was going with that is that it's getting to the point where, and with the exception of gold being a valuable metal to use on especially electronics and whatnot, and people who want to wear it. It's almost starting to sound like Bitcoin is has more intrinsic value than even gold, especially considering how fast you can move it.
Well, through most of human history, gold didn't have any intrinsic value. It wasn't until very recently that we started using it in electronics and it actually was valuable for something. Decoration. The
people
demand
like
for
shiny things.
Yeah, but the demand for something doesn't give that something intrinsic, inherent value.
What is intrinsic value? It's true value, right? So it's
something that
is a good question. What is intrinsic value?
So aesthetic quality doesn't matter when it comes to
I would say that it has intrinsic value is something that is valuable because it's valuable, and not because people are giving it that value, but because in and of itself, by its very existence, it's
useful.
Valuable.
It's useful, I would say. But here is what Investopedia. Here's what Investopedia says about it. Intrinsic value is a measure of what an asset is worth. This measure is arrived at by means of an objective calculation or complex financial model rather than using the currently trading market price of that asset.
Objective. So if the entire...
That sounds like it's just a definition of value.
If all society thinks that gold is beautiful and they want to wear it, then I would say that is...
An intrinsic value? I don't know that I agree with Investopedia's definition because it's basically just sounded like a definition of value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Regardless, whether Bitcoin or gold has intrinsic value, the USD certainly does not. And if it does, it's just by the good faith and credit of the U.S. government, which
is going away every day. More and more people are waking up to the idea that their holy dollar is losing value, and all you got to do is just go to the store.
Yes.
And
I had a story about that tonight, but we never got to it. Other people are starting to notice that portions are getting smaller and prices are going up.
Yep. And if you can even find it on the shelf. I just came back from Aldi's, and they have vacant spots everywhere.
I was wondering if that was the case because it was true last week as well. I did just look up intrinsic, just in the dictionary, belonging to a thing by its very nature. So Now, whether or not we can see that value at any given moment is an interesting question, right? Because like the old statement about oil used to be that it was a nuisance because before people realized that you could burn it and keep warm and do other things with that once they figured that out, it was a pollutant of farmland. It's like there's this black stuff coming up in your farmland. It's a big problem for somebody like that doesn't understand that there's actually this value in this thing that's polluting what you think is a pollutant. But once you understand more about its nature, then you can understand its value. So I would say the nature of Bitcoin is intrinsically valuable, and the nature of gold is as well, because people do find it useful. Whether they found it useful for computer parts, in the late part of the 20th century, or they found it useful for making pretty things that women really like, early on in hundreds of years ago. There's value there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But none of that is applicable to the USD or any of these other state authorized dollars.
Jamie Dimon was further asked, according to news.bitcoin.com, whether government should regulate Bitcoin. Yes, he exclaimed. They have to. You can't regulate everything a bank does in terms of moving money and not regulate what you would call money. So he's now claiming that Bitcoin is money.
That's a shocking claim from him.
But
the banks have centralized institutions that you can regulate. The government can regulate Coinbase and Kraken and all of these others, but it can't regulate Bitcoin.
No, and he doesn't understand that. He says you can call it a security or an asset or something like that, but if people are using it for tax avoidance and sex trafficking and ransomware, it's going to be regulated whether you like it or not. So it's not a moral statement, it's a factual statement.
I've got news for him. Ransomware and sex trafficking are already illegal.
Yeah.
They're already regulated.
And by the way, China made Bitcoin usage illegal recently, and what's the price doing?
It's going up.
Yep.
Well, they say they made it illegal. I don't know to what extent they really did. There's always stuff from China about cryptocurrency. I think their central bank said that it wasn't allowed or something like that. I don't know to what extent their central bank has
You're not allowed to mine it. You're not allowed to have exchanges, and you're not, as I understand it, not allowed to use it personally, like to buy things.
Wow, that's pretty extensive then.
Yeah, it's banned. Dimon did admit that JP Morgan clients are interested. While he himself doesn't care about Bitcoin, his customers do. And in July, the bank said that lots of its clients saw crypto as an asset class they wanted to invest in. And by August, JP Morgan was offering 6 crypto investment funds to their clients.
I imagine Jamie Dimon is buying Bitcoin and just being very, very quiet about it. He'd be stupid if not. Well, we're out of time for tonight. You can join us in the meantime over at social.freetalklive.com. That's our own social media server, social.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's